Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about the results from a ton of different tournaments this past weekend: the Philippines Master Ball League, the Seville special event, and then also the Johannesburg special event that took place in South Africa. And alongside that, that'll talk about our next topic, which is a little bit of drama around special events. This is a point of discussion that feels like comes up in the community every few months or so. So we'll talk about that and give our thoughts on special event players traveling across the world, whatever that is. We will, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. And then we're going to wrap up this week by looking forward to the Milwaukee Regional Championships this coming weekend. And then also the Aichi Champions League tournament that is happening this weekend in Japan, with the glory of Team Rocket set legal for the event. We'll do predictions and a couple of meta analysis things for Milwaukee. So you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned for that. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here as always by my friend and co-host Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy? How's your week been?
What's up, Chip? Pretty good. I did restream Seville and the Master Ball Philippines League, which is like their big end of year tournament or whatever. And I was able to stay up for all the Master Ball. They only streamed day 2, like Top Cut, top 32 and on. So day 1 of the event we didn't see anything. So my plan was to like stream that into Seville, and it lined up pretty well. I missed like the first round of day 2 of Seville. So I want to close out the rest of the Master Ball League because I was in the finals and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't quite able to make it all the way through. I mean, I was up at so it's like, and the night before I was up watching day 1 of Seville. So it was like Saturday morning, 2 a.m. Watch Seville till like 10 a.m. ish, and then I had a break between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. because 7 p.m. is when the Master Ball League in the Philippines started. So I could have got more sleep in there. Like I definitely could have made it all the way to the finals of Seville, but I just need to get like better sleep in between those time periods. So next time around, if this ever comes up, I'll definitely be a little bit more prepared. But then yeah, then Seville, then the Master Ball League started at 7 p.m. and Seville started at it actually started at like midnight. It was scheduled to start at like 1:45 a.m., which is when which is when day 1 started. But like day 2 started a little bit early, and I managed to get all the way to top 8, all the way through top 8, but I couldn't stay awake for top 4 and the final. So it was like back to back, basically back to back days of pretty a lack of sleep, and then a lot of streaming. So I wasn't able to make it all the way through, but I think I'll be able to do it next time for sure. I'll be a little bit more prepared.
Did you get to the point where you were like kind of having like out of body feelings of like dazing out, like falling asleep in your chair, any of that,
No,
or
it didn't get that
slurring your
bad.
words?
I was definitely slurring. My words were slurring a little bit. Like I had to like re-say some stuff multiple times sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. It didn't get like to the most tired I've ever been. Maybe it's the most tired I've ever been on stream. That's possible, but it definitely could have got some more sleep in that in that break period I had between the end of day 1 of Seville and the beginning of the Master Ball League in the Philippines. So if this ever happens again, I'll just make sure I get more sleep. I also didn't get a ton of sleep the night before day 1 of Seville. I like went to bed at like 10 and then woke up at 1:30. So I was on 3.5 hours sleep, 3.5 hours of sleep initially for that. So
What do you think the longest amount of time is you've ever gone awake in like wake up whenever it was morning, evening, whatever it was? How long do you think the longest amount of time is you've been awake for in one stretch with no sleep?
probably at least 24 hours. Yeah.
Can you think
Yeah.
of like when that was, what you were, why you were doing that, or is it
Playing
just
League,
you were just
playing
being
League of
yeah? I
Legends.
was gonna say
League of
just being
Legends.
a
It
degenerate
was
playing
definitely
video games.
Yeah, I was definitely playing League of Legends at some point during my early days of the league grinding. So yeah,
Mm,
back in season 3.
I remember one time in high school over the summer, I went on a camping trip with my dad and brother and uncle, and we stayed up all night. We fished all through the night out on a pier and stayed up all night. And so, like, we drove, traveled, set up our campsite, went to the pier to fish, and then stayed up all night long, and then stayed up until like the afternoon, early evening. So it was a very long. It was like 28 to 30 hours, something like that, and
Sheesh.
that was crazy. I
It
was very
definitely
tired.
I definitely feel the difference as I've gotten older with that kind of stuff. It's definitely harder to do. Honestly, but a lot more of it is literally just having more responsibilities. Not so much even the fact that you can't
Yeah, dude, you've
physically
got
do
so
it.
many responsibilities. So true.
Well, no, it's like keeping up with all the stuff you gotta do during the day. There's so much more. Back then, all I had to do was go to the kitchen and get some food out of the fridge, and that was it. Like that's all I had to do. But now it's like, I'm streaming YouTube videos. I gotta do laundry. I gotta, get my food. Like there's so much more to do
Yeah.
as you get older. But yeah, back then it was literally just go to the fridge, get food, go back to playing League, repeat. Definitely
You
different
were
times.
literally living that T-shirt, that like Walmart T-shirt, that was like eat, sleep, play video games,
Yeah,
repeat, whatever.
basically,
Yeah.
literally, yeah. That's one. What about you though? What did you get up to this weekend
Yeah, this
or
past
week?
week I went to a league challenge. There's a store here that does their local league on Wednesday nights, and so that when they have a challenge, they do it on the league night. So that's kind of cool. I've had gone in the past, I think, for one, but it had been a little while. So I went and played in that. It was pretty fun. I played Archaladon. I didn't do super well. I played like a straight Archaladon list with like it was kind of like one of the ones we looked at from City Leagues last week. The one that was like Genesect plus Psyduck, but
Yeah.
obviously we don't have Psyduck. So I just played. I found another similar list that played double Genesect, and I was like, that seems kind of sick. And so I rocked with the double Genesect, the double
Two?
Genesect Archaladon deck. Yeah. Hey, listen, almost every single game I was able to get a turn one or turn two Genesect, turn one, turn two Genesect. So
Yeah, get the tool card
that
on
was
there.
pretty nice to make that happen. But yeah, so that was pretty fun. And then I also, right before I was like kind of stressing it on the last day, I was able to finally get to Master Ball tier, and Pocket is such a grind and such a slog to get to Master Ball League. But I wanted to go ahead and do it because whenever the season resets, I'm only going to get reset now that I made it to Master Ball, only to Ultra Ball 3. So I wanted to like get there, be able to do it. So now if I want to grind it again, I don't have to go nearly as far. But grinding from like beginner all the way to Master Ball, it is so many, just like a stupid amount of games required to make it happen.
Is that where you start? You started in beginner. I
Yeah.
assume that makes sense, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
beginner
It was
isn't.
the first season. Everyone started in beginner.
Yeah. So beginner, Pokeball League, Great Ball League, then you get to the Ultra Ball into the Master Ball.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it had to have been I mean, it probably took me like 220, 250 games, something like that. Yeah, probably something around that. I think it would be pretty tough for anyone to do it under 200 games, to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny that you looking at this and you mentioning that because there's been some discussion around the PTCG Live side of things where I mean you have to you don't have to play that much to get like you get reset pretty low. You get set to like you don't get reset to, I think it's Quick League is the lowest one. You get reset to like Nest Ball League. But
Yeah.
All Out Blitzel has come up with a method
Dude,
to
yes.
grind faster. Poison Donk, not just Poison Donk, but it's like literally full Donk. Um And the idea is you either win instantly or you lose really fast, and then your opponent gets the dub, and then the whole ladder just climbs faster up to Arceus, kind of.
Yeah.
So which is kind of funny. It's like the Pokemon community once again stepping up to fix problems that probably shouldn't exist or fill in some kind of gap that TPCI is not providing in terms of like whatever.
Did he delete
It's
the
funny to
tweet?
see.
Was there did he cause too much havoc with the list? I think he might have deleted the tweet, bro.
No way.
I can't
Actually,
find it. Am I
it's got
tripping?
to be there. You got to be tripping.
I mean, it's been in the last week that he tweeted it, right?
It was like yesterday, I think, or the day before. I want to say.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
literally just saw something about it before. Dude, it's got to be here. Oh, I found it. There it is.
this?
Yeah, there it is. So excited for
Oh,
more. Yeah,
oh,
yeah, there
I'm
it is.
trolling. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing it's just a turbo donk deck. Every single ball search card in the format, 4 Dusk Ball, 2 Pokeball, 4 Carmine. And
Dude,
it's
how do
just like
we? Why we have 3 Squawkabilly? Why don't we play 2 Volcanion? Like, we, we can't
True.
we can't get a second Volcanion in here, bro. What are we doing? Come on. What if
You
it's
can still
prize?
donk without Volcanium, but you probably
Yeah,
can't donk without Squawkabilly. So
the triple Billy is is crazy.
I
Um,
wonder. I haven't played TCG Live in a minute, so I'm definitely like at the bottom of the ladder. I wonder if I logged on, how many of this deck I would play against, like of people just
right
trying to
now.
grind up really
Yeah.
fast.
Also, it is like a go second metagame right now. Like
Right.
more decks are choosing second, except for the Noctowl decks, of course, but like the Gardevoirs, the Dragapult, stuff like that, Zoroark. So you're gonna get to go first. You're gonna pick first, and you get to go first a decent amount as well, which is kind of funny.
I like how
Yeah, this
there's the random one Roto stick in here. It's like I couldn't think of what the last card should be. Roto stick.
Roto stick. Yeah, obviously this deck just loses if your opponent puts down 2 basic Pokemon, but I think that's what someone said, and Blizzle basically replied. It was like, all right, then they climb faster. And it's like, all right, we're just all like, getting up there together. We're all just moving along the process. So I think it would be nice. Um, it would be nice to see some kind of like something like this
Yeah.
on the ladder because like the goal is just to get to Arceus so you can grind in Arceus League. Nothing else really matters before Arceus. So it would be nice to just have people be able to get to Arceus maybe a little bit faster because the only thing that really matters is being in Arceus.
I mean,
So
what how many hours of gameplay do you think it takes to go from where it resets you up to Arceus? Probably it's probably like
a
6 to
bit.
8 plus probably, right?
I don't think I can't do it in one stream. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's more than 8. I think I would say probably unless you're
Yeah.
maybe playing like the donk deck. But even then, I don't know how much time you. Yeah, if you're playing the donk deck, you're going through a lot of games really, really quickly. So, but that's only to get up to.
It's a new speedrun challenge.
Yeah,
How fast can you go from Nest Ball to Arceus with the Donk deck?
that's actually something I've actually kind of wanted to do. And the thing is, like, there's so much Pokemon to do right now. But there's like that big break between NAIC and Worlds. I want to do a host like grind to 1500. I think it's 1700 is or 1750. And I'm just like basically I'm gonna offer up a price for the first person who gets to 1750. But you have to stream all your games. So wanted to offer like a challenge out to the community for players on like a ranked reset one time and see how it goes. With like a prize for it. Like
But it can't be from a rank. If it's from a season reset, it'll be it would take like days, right?
yeah, it'd be like a multiple day, like 2 or 3 day thing for the people who stick it out.
So people would have
Um
to stream for like,
I mean
12
you could
hours, take a break, 12 hours, whatever.
yeah, I mean whoever gets there first gets the prize. So it's like it's up to the people what they want to do. Yeah, the only criteria would be you have to stream every single game that you do. So it would obviously be like catered towards content creators, but then anyone who else who wants to do it could get in on it as
I feel
well.
like something like that would be so sick if it didn't take forever to get to Master Ball because it's such a slog to get there and the games are just irrelevant before you get to Master Ball.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was like easier to do it because then you could
Yeah.
make it a higher goal in Arceus tier for people to try and get to. But um, yeah, hopefully they add something like that eventually. I mean, we still don't have a leaderboard, so like leaderboard is also something they have a leaderboard in Pocket, right? Where you can at least see your
Yeah,
number you
yeah.
are.
No,
Yeah.
you can see like the top like 30 or something like that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, even seeing that would be nice. Even just seeing that and seeing what the difference is between like 30th place and
Yeah, you see
you.
how many
Like,
points they have.
yeah, like that's all we need in TCG Live. Like, don't have it yet.
I will say Pocket, it didn't do like a ELO. Um,
It's just gain 10, lose 10, right?
yeah, it's gain 10, lose 7.
Even in Master Ball League?
Actually, I don't know. Once I got to Master Ball League, I didn't play a game because I was like,
Oh.
I achieved my goal. I'll play more next season. That's kind of because I literally did it. Like the season reset at 2 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, I think.
Mhm.
And I finished it at like 10 p.m. Friday. Like I was like a few hours away from it being the ladder being over.
Well,
And
someone
I
in the
was like,
comment
the
section
worst thing that could happen would be I would lose a game and fall back down, and I'm not doing that.
yeah, so someone in the comment section I'm sure knows. Let us know what happens once you get to Master Ball League. I just assumed it was a ELO system or something of that type. But if it is just like win 10, lose 10, I assume you'd lose as much as you would gain at the very
Well,
least.
when you get into Master Ball, it's like 40 it's like 1480 points, 1475, something like that. It's like just under 1500 points. And the people who are at the top had like 3100 points.
Okay. So they definitely did some grinding.
Oh yeah, big time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't like it's like a stupid amount of games for sure. And then it's also like you're just playing against the same deck over. It's just Giratina Darkrai like just
Yeah,
the
isn't
best
that
deck
just
by
like
far. Yeah.
that's what I was gonna
Hopefully
say,
this next
what
season
I
will be
heard.
better with the new set. Hopefully something mixes up the meta a little bit.
I don't think there's a need to nerf a card because they haven't done that yet, right?
They haven't. I wouldn't hate to see it though, to be honest. Or some rule change. It's part of it is just like part of the is like how the gameplay mechanics work, right? When it comes to playing mixed energies in your deck. Like
Yeah.
right now you don't have to play Psychic Energy in your energy pool, but you can still use the Giratina to pull a Psychic Energy out to end your turn.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize what. Yeah, because I read what the card did, but I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So you play all Dark
Mm,
Energy for Darkrai,
yeah,
and then the Giratina still pulls the Psychic Energy out.
so you don't lose any consistency at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. But
All
yeah,
right.
it was a little cringe, not gonna lie, but that's all right. We'll talk about. Well, actually, we probably won't talk about too much more Pocket. We probably have spent too much time talking about Pocket, and someone's gonna rage in the comments about it because for some reason, Pokemon TCG players hate TCG Pocket.
Yeah, I don't know. We
Let's
got
talk
some.
about some tournament results from this
Let's
past
do it.
weekend. And there were three major tournaments. There was the Johannesburg special event. There was the Philippines Master Ball League that you mentioned, and the Seville special event. Both of those you ended up watching. We're going to start off by talking about Johannesburg. We'll come back around and talk about some of the drama surrounding this event a little bit for
Yeah.
our second topic of the week. But we're going to start off here just looking at the tournament results themselves and taking those for what they are. We don't know how many people were at this tournament. There's no information on that right now. It wasn't like hosted on Arcanine Labs or anything like that, but we do know the decks that won, the decks that were in Top Cut. We see Juan Andre, player from Latin America, actually traveled over to this event. So that's part of the thing we'll talk about, and got the win with Gardevoir EX. Harper Kaiser with a Terabox. And then we've got Joltic Box, Golden Go Dragapult, Dragapult, Terabox, Dragapult, and Terabox. So Gardevoir standing alone among the rest, and Juan Andre gets the win with it.
Yeah, and I want to give like I don't know, I guess a shout to Juan in general. He's like been performing pretty well. I feel like the last couple seasons. I feel like he's a player that not a lot of people know the name. But he's been consistently making top cuts at the Latin American tournaments and stuff like that. So I feel like he hasn't had like his big breakout performance yet. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen still maybe yet this season, depending on how many more events he's going to be hitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Guard does it again. Then this is like I don't know. There's like two ways I identify Gardevoir lists. It's like the Brent Tonneson build or the Henry Chow build. Zoroark versus no Zoroark. But I will say with that as well, Brent Tonneson's list wasn't just a no Zoroark build. No Mew EX.
Yep.
Nobody Poffin. We do see the one Buddy Poffin in here for Juan. So those are like kind of my identifiers personally for Guardy build. So this is like a little bit more like the Brent Tonneson build. Um, Cleffa in there as well is also like another thing to look at. But yeah, no draw engine Guardy getting another dub here. And this one has Arvin's. Arvin, I feel like it's something we haven't seen in a little while in well, at least in the winning Gardevoir list. But I feel like in general it's been kind of falling off.
Dude, this version is so tilting to play against. This is one of the things I lost to at the league challenge. This like no draw engine Guardy.
Yeah.
I owned them to one at the end of the game into like a 20 card deck. Draws the last Bravery Charm for the win. Only win condition, raw one outer. You love to see it.
Love to see it. It is actually a little bit when I look at these builds too. It's surprising there is no TM Evo with like how much Badooing happens against Dragapult and potentially in mirror match as well. It's like you got two Arvins in a secret box. Like I don't know. It feels like it just kind of would feel like TM Evo seems like a pretty powerful option to have to
You
combat
probably just
Badoo.
in those instances, you just Cleffa and chill, grasping draw, find your Curlias, get up
Yeah,
that
but
way.
like, but you have like if you find secret box turn one, which is unlikely, of course. But if you had two Arvin plus secret box go second plus the Evo, that's 4 outs. And then after that, Arvin plus TM Evo is 3 outs every single draw after that. What if you just don't find Curlia? You could just not find it.
It's true.
I don't know. It feels weird to just like it feels like such a powerful option in honestly, Badoo's not even like that. It really is just Dragapult and Guardy that are really abusing Badoo. Besides that, no other deck is really taking advantage of it the way those two are. Except I could say maybe the third biggest offender, biggest utilizer of Badoo is maybe Zoroark actually. I'm trying to think of there's maybe another deck in there actually instead of those two, but it's definitely those two are definitely at the top above all the rest. Dragapult more a little bit even more so, but I mean, it's like Dragapult's still like been 20% of the meta, so you're gonna hit it quite a bit if you're trying to get a win. So I don't know. The lack of Evo is interesting, but it might just not be worth the space.
Bro, is this the time? Is it finally time? This is what we've been waiting for. Indeedy.
Mm. Find it with your artisan.
Artisans, yeah, come on.
Honestly, that's not a terrible. That's like not terrible. Except the only thing you're missing is you're not doing yourself. But I guess Team Evo does the same thing.
Hey, and guess
Maybe I
what?
guess
After you
I guess
use
that's
the
the reason, right?
Indeedy, if they
Mm.
keep doing you, Get in there with the Hypnoblast, bro. 30
Got
damage.
him.
Get out, get out of here, Badoo.
Dude, the expert nurture. Honestly, even doing that instead of well, I guess in Dragapult it eats your energy for turn. That feels pretty bad. But
Mm,
In Guardy, I could see it. I could see it.
okay, okay. Someone out
Be
there,
different.
Gardevoir and Didi. Let's see it for Milwaukee. I believe in you.
Evo's probably better than playing the Indeedee. But who knows? You can yeah, you have more outs to find the Indeedee.
And then the only other list we have is Harper Kaiser's second place Terabox list. And is this even 60 cards? This does not even look like 60 cards. I guess it is.
Dude, I hate 2 people. I don't even want to give them the spotlight. Just click out of this, bro. When people lay out decks
I
like,
don't even
oh,
think
this
it's
one's not
60.
that bad.
It's not 60 cards, is it?
It probably is somehow.
7, 8,
This deck list layout honestly isn't that bad. This one's not that bad. I kind of like looked at it again. It's just like all the actually the mismatching artworks. Not mismatching, but like it's like not all. No, actually it is mostly full. No, some of that it's not full art. Honestly, the full art in general is kind of hard to read. What's kind of what? You're actually counting it.
it is 60.
Yeah, okay.
Bro, Brock's scouting, just hiding out over here.
Yeah, just hanging out. That's what I saw initially, and that's what tilted me. I'm like, bro, I no, 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 no.
You're not giving it the time of day.
If the design isn't like super, sometimes people lay out deck lists, and that is it's like the design of how the deck list is laid out is the point of the picture. But then sometimes people just like take a deck list picture, and their deck list isn't the layout isn't super intricate, and it's just like a jumble of cards, and it's just and people do it on purpose, obviously. Or it's not even funny. Like the one I think was Tim Franklin, like the originator of it. He was like outside some convenience store, and he had his deck list like laid
Yes,
out all over him.
dude.
Like that's funny. Like that's different, right? But it's like when people just like they're not putting in the extra effort to make it like be funny, but they're still just trying to make their deck look messed up in the pick. It's like it's just annoying, and I just get annoyed.
Yeah, it was
This
like
one's honestly fine, to be honest. It was just the
all of
Brox that kind of threw me off.
yeah, here's dude, the Australian deck list layout.
Yeah, see, these ones are good.
It's just the Australians are unhinged, bro.
The feet, bro. The
The
feet have
dogs, bro.
they got
Those
the dog.
that is someone else's feet being entirely too close to your face, J Love.
Or maybe he's into it.
Oh, I mean, listen,
Yeah.
we're
But
not gonna
see,
get into that.
those are some high value picks. This one is also fine. I kind of got ahead of myself, but yeah, Terabox. We've been seeing a little bit more. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through all the other results. But Terabox has been popping up and pulling some results. I don't know I think we did talk about it last week, or maybe I mentioned it. It's just like the meta has been getting better for Terabox. It hasn't been like great for it, but it's been getting better for it. Um, so it's become a better and better play for sure.
Yeah. And that's actually a pretty good segue into the next tournament because Terabox did not only have success in Johannesburg, but it actually won the Philippines Master Ball League.
Yeah. Won by Juancho, who a lot of people are probably familiar with as one of the commentators for the official TPCI events, and has commentated this event. I believe did commentate this event last year. I
Yes.
want to say, and maybe has even some years before that, but chose to play this time around to play for his Worlds invite. I think him getting top cut guaranteed his Worlds invite, but then went a step further and took the whole thing down with Terabox. And had a pretty cool listen here with the Farigiraf EX in there as an aggressive answer to like what Joltic Box and Raging Bolt are probably the two. Maybe Mirror Match as well, right? Don't you just kind of auto win Mirror if you have it and they don't. Oh no, I guess everyone
Yeah.
has Cornerstone now, so I guess not.
Yeah. Outside of the cornerstone. But if you can
Yeah,
it's still like it like forces them to go cornerstone, right? Which they
yeah,
don't necessarily really want to do. So yeah, it definitely creates some cool things you can do. Yeah, big shout outs to Wancho for winning not only just winning in general, but doing it with like a cool innovation, I would say, on like a less popular archetype at this point in the meta, right?
yeah,
And it's really cool. You can set up the basic with Fan Rotom because it is colorless. There are psychic for Giraffe rigs as well, but you're able to set it up with the Fan Rotom, and then you just gotta find the big guy, which is easy enough to do with Noctowl for Ultra Ball. Definitely a cool one. And Wancho, not only Wancho, but his partner Ira and also their son all got their invite to Worlds at this tournament. And I'm actually wondering, and someone who's like been around for a long time can maybe uh fact check this, or like if they have the knowledge of a time that this had. Like I don't know about like the early 2000s worlds, but this might be the first time that it's like a parent pair plus a child like trio has all qualified for worlds and will compete in the same world championships.
Yeah, I think this probably is the first time. We definitely know like kids and parents who have, but I don't know about both parents ever. A parent and a kid or multiple kids. I've definitely known to have made the world championships. Yeah, both parents and a kid. Yeah, I don't think this might be the first time
Yeah.
for
Like I
sure.
said, like, I mean, I wouldn't be too, I don't know. Some of those like old school worlds requirements were pretty rough. Like only like 64 people qualified for worlds
Yeah.
in like 2011 and 2012, I want to say. Like, but maybe in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, I just don't have great knowledge of results from that era. And it's not super well documented either. So if anyone knows, feel free to let us know. But yeah, very cool thing that we may see happen for the first time at Worlds this year. But yeah, big shout outs to Wancho and the whole family on the run. They also all get awarded with the super sick Zoroark Master Ball League stamped card, which you only get for getting top four at a Master Ball League tournament.
They're so clean. Those are like actually like such a clean. Those are like like I rarely care about like what I should just play min rarity, but like if I had those orcs, I'd play them. Well, maybe not because they're worth so much, but I would consider
Yeah.
playing them if I had the artwork and it wasn't worth so much.
I think the most expensive card I've ever seen someone actually play with is Yuho plays with his champion nest
Yeah.
ball from LAIC, which is probably worth like $3,000, something like that.
Yeah.
Who even knows? The thing about those cards is it's like such a narrow market, especially for a card like Nest Ball. It's a little bit different when it's a Pokemon like Zoroark or Mew, right? You'll get a lot of collectors who might want those cards. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of people out there going after master sets of Nest Ball.
Yeah. I think that kind of stuff actually I don't think it's very hard. Like there's like a lot of collectors like in the space now who are like who want those kind of more niche competitive stuff. Like it's the market for the world's promo cards, like placing top four worlds is actually just insane
Yeah, Worlds
now.
is a whole separate thing, I think for sure. The ICs though, I don't know, maybe I mean you
I don't think
probably are
it'll
a
be
little bit more
hard.
familiar with it than I am, I
Yeah.
guess. Did you ever sell any of your IC champion
No.
stamped cards? You have them all
I
still?
have I don't think it would be too difficult though. Getting the word out there a little bit might maybe be something, but once it's out there, I think there you'd easily be able to find someone who would be interested.
And once you've sold some of those cards in the past, you kind of have those connections that can
Yeah,
help you kind
definitely.
of find more people to sell stuff. Like you sold all your festivals and stuff at Japan Worlds, right? When you got top four.
Oh, like all the yeah, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't festivals, but they were the other
A
one.
Paradise Resort.
Paradise Resort. Yeah. What happens if we're in a location where there's it's not a paradise. Like it's not a paradise. Is there everywhere a paradise resort? Like, could you have
I
a
don't know,
paradise
bro. We're
resort
going to San
anywhere?
Francisco next year. I don't know if we can call
Yeah, is
that
that a par
Paradise Resort.
are they gonna give us a new promo? And where was the wasn't the next gen of Pokemon, where was it announced that they're from? Was it Greece? Am I trolling?
Oh, there's like some speculation about that, but
Oh,
it's not
okay,
been
okay.
announced yet.
Well, I'm just like saying, if they like
There's nothing announced about that.
we went to Worlds in London basically to like coincide with like Sword and Shield, right? So maybe we'll go to what's it called? There's no Paradise Resort in I mean, maybe there is. Maybe there's Paradise Resorts everywhere, but it doesn't feel like when I think about Paradise Resorts, I think like tropical. I'm thinking like Hawaii. But new promo, maybe. Uh but yeah. Let's take a look at the rest of the decks that made top cut. But yeah, really cool story with Juancho and his whole family. Um Definitely excited for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and super sick for Wancho too, because he like you said, was not even planning to play in the tournament and then
Yeah.
decided to play. Shout outs to Wancho for doing that. But yeah, we got some. There's nothing like super standoutish in here. I would say maybe the
Yeah.
ninth place Roaring Moon deck, but it's one we've seen before. Monkey Dory with a top 16 finish. I think we saw this person on stream, right, Jason? Um,
Yes. I want to say yeah. We definitely saw a Monkey Dory on stream.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
with the Espathra. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So this one, yeah, the Espather. The Espather is really interesting. I've seen some people playing it before, but the build did the build who got top cut in Seville have it? They didn't, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I actually just don't understand the card's purpose in the deck. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just don't know what it does. But I mean, it's there. I mean, it's an efficient attacker for sure, and I imagine it's probably reasonably awkward for Dragapult to deal with because needing an extra energy when the deck plays like most builds play very little to no energy acceleration.
Yeah.
That would be annoying, but
That's gotta be the main reason for it, but it can be a little hard to establish Espathra, if they get to attacking with Badoo and lock you out of finding it, and then
yeah, I guess also maybe against the Iron Hands deck, like against Joltic box, because
yeah,
you don't
sure.
have a great way to deal with an Iron Hands. Besides waiting for Ursaluna, but then you've already given up 4 prize cards. So like SS Pathra could maybe check them turn 2.
And there was also in the top 8 here and in Zoark, and we'll talk a little bit more about this deck when we get to Seville because it, seems like this deck is really gaining a lot of momentum in the format currently, and this will be a big thing for us to talk about heading into Milwaukee this weekend. But yeah, what do you make of Zorbox doing well at these tournaments?
One thing I will say, like if you're not going to get creative with your deck list, this is how you lay out a deck list. Like everything's super clean. It's very obvious what all the cards are. Actually, I don't know what's behind boss. I'm not gonna lie.
It's
Um,
Arvin.
oh, is it Arvin? Okay,
2 boss, 2 Arvin.
okay, yeah. Yeah, the Hero's Cape is like the big standout in this build. I mean, this is pretty similar to what other people are running as far as Zorak goes. I'm happy to see people have come around and realized that Petron EX sucks in the deck. I've been on that since day one. I was right. That's right. Also, the Dunsparce sucks. Keep it out of your decks. Um, but yeah, the Hero Escape is like the big standout card here that you don't see very often. I mean, a big Zoroark, like the Zoroark deck, like isn't doing a whole ton. Like you got your Darmanitan Snipe, which can be really impactful. You got Reshiram to kind of back you up. But if something's like one hit KOing you turn after turn after turn, then you kind of start to uh, get into a losing position pretty quickly. So the Hero Escape for just like to try and sustain that first Zoroark or second Zoroark or just a Zoroark throughout the game actually is pretty interesting to be honest as the inclusion because we saw over in Seville, the list that did the best, and we also saw Fabian playing Zorak over there as well. They're playing Prime Catcher actually, which is like the most aggressive ace spec possible. And Prime Catcher to me doesn't make a ton of sense in Zorak because Counter Catcher is so active and so good in the deck. It feels like Prime Catcher is like overkill or just kind of like a waste of your ace spec. So I'm like not convinced that Prime Catcher is not the way to go. But yeah, Prime Catcher feels weird to me. But for something like the Hero's Cape, as long as you can come up with enough situations against enough top matchups, Hero's Cape makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, actually kinda cool to see that be the inclusion there for sure. Um, and yeah, other than that, it's all kind of stuff we're used to seeing. So let's go ahead and move on to Seville. And oops, I went past it. Here we go. And Seville had 800 players. It was a special event, not a regional championships, and it was won yet by Johan here from France with Gardevoir. So Gardevoir winning 2 out of the 3 tournaments this weekend.
And every
Gardevoir
other
winning the
tournament,
last 2 big majors outside of these tournament weekends. Yeah, it's just Gardevoir's world, it seems like. And this is more like the Brent Thomason list here.
yeah, and I'm sure someone will. I got asked this question so much over the weekend. Special events are literally regional championships, except no entry fee and no cash prizing. But besides that, they're exactly the same for prize payouts in terms of championship points and stuff like that. Yeah, Guardy does it again. Like you said, Brent Tonneson style build. If not, like basically, oh, am I tripping or is this exactly the 60?
It may be the 60. And if we go
It's got
back
the
over to
Turo.
I'm on Limitless Labs, not on Limitless, but if we go over here and click on this, we will see, yes, it is the same 60 that Brent won
Okay,
Monterey
okay.
with.
Yeah, so literally they exist. So literally just yeah, took the 60, rocked it, and I mean that's
Alongside 5 other people in day 2, and 4 of them or 3 of them made top 32.
yeah. I mean that is not as big of a surprise. You know, seeing the other players make decent runs with the deck list, but it winning, I mean that feels like a pretty big statement there for sure in terms of the potential that this specific build has over what else people are trying to do with Gardevoir. We haven't really seen that success get replicated with the Zoroark build, and it seems like more people are gravitating towards this style of build that I would say Brett Tonneson has definitely popularized recently. You know, no Poffins, just for research for Iono. We're not trying to get cute with any Arvins or any kind of Mortys or anything like that. Play the good cards. The one thing that's still like I still like stands out to me the most is the lack of Mew. Because it is such a powerful attacker up against Dragapult. But the bigger thing for me is just like that little bit of draw power sometimes like saves you from the Mew in the early game specifically when you have like nothing else. But there is the Cleffa in there, so you have that Cleffa to potentially help out in those situations.
Then we did see Dragapult getting second place, Pedro here with a straight Pult build, which has kind of, I would say, locked itself in as the way to go with Dragapult right now. Kind of Dusknor fallen by the wayside is still popular, right? But
Yeah.
straight Pult is the way to go.
Yeah, and we see the I didn't even realize there was I recognized that I looked at the list earlier. I didn't realize there was 4 Brock Scouting in here, which is kind of funny. No Jack, 4 Brock Scouting, no Arvin. But we see the jamming towers and the Neo Upper Energy, which is the innovation we're starting to see from Japan. I think we had mentioned that, if not last week, the week before. And I think that was kind of a question with Dragapult moving forward is are jamming towers going to start to be included? They're so impactful in the Gardevoir matchup specifically. I've seen so many games get won on the Guardy side where they just create an unbeatable board state through Bravery Charm, and the Dragapult players do not have an answer. But jamming tower gives you that answer, right? Um, and with that, we see the more aggressive A spec being included, the Neo Upper Energy, as like some form of, it's not really a form of energy acceleration, but it kind of is because it is a double energy card that doesn't really really get replaced by anything else. But no Crispin, no EXP share, no unfair stamp, of course. Instead, going the energy acceleration route, which Sparkling Crystal had been the go-to in the past. But if you're playing Jamming Tower and you don't play Arvin, then Neo Upper Energy has to be the move. And it is just a card that you don't have a way to find besides naturally drawing into it. But you have Draclos, you got Pheasantipity, you'll get there eventually, probably by the time you actually really need it. So
Yeah, this deck list looks like a list that Tord Reklev would have played 5 years ago, like, with the 4 of Brock Scouting specifically, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And the Brock Scouting, of course, like if anyone's questioning why that's there over Jack, it's because it finds basic Pokemon. I saw so many games between both tournaments where Badoo comes in the active and the player on the other side's like, well, I got one Dreepy and
yep.
play their draw supporter with a basic Pokemon, pass, or use their own Badoo or whatever. But you got Brock Scouting, get your Dreepies, have another Brock Scouting for next turn, finds just, even if it's just one Dracloak, you're always making, you're always doing something. Right, you're always doing something. Also, 4 bosses orders as well. Sheesh, chill out.
Yeah, 4 boss and 3 counter catcher
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
All the gust. Yeah, pretty cool list, honestly, there from Pedro. And then
definitely.
this was kind of one of the bigger stories from the tournament, I feel like. Harvey Scheinman's In's Zoroark deck, because Harvey was the only undefeated player moving from day 1 into day 2. And
Yeah,
yeah, with Zoroark.
yeah, and Zoroark. Once again, nothing crazy here. I think Ursaluna has been like the new innovation in Zoroark decks or whatever, the new addition.
It kind of like does what people were hoping Petront would do, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it gives you a way to like KO Pheasantipity at the end of the game for 2 prizes. That's easy. Yeah, people were like had the Petron in there for some reason. I still can't figure out why. And like the Mochi in there to try and hit the bigger numbers in like the mid early game. But it was such like a bad combo. It was so bad to put Petron in play in this deck in general, and it's like a combo that's like hard to set up to begin with. But the Ursaluna kind of helps you in that late game for that little bit of help. Also, Cleffa in here as well, that's like also something we don't see very often. Is the Cleffa in the Zoroark deck, and it is the research build, right? I feel like that's like the differences we've seen between Zoroark decks right now. It's like some play Arvin, some play research. We see this one being heavier on the research, heavier on the Ultra Ball. So just draw through your deck, hope to find your Zoroarks. We're not cherry picking stuff out of the deck like Arvin to find TM Evo to get 2 Zoroarks into play or anything like that. We're just trying to see as many cards as possible turn to turn. And there's that Prime Catcher, like I mentioned earlier, as the A spec of choice that gives you the ability to be more aggressive for sure. So you can like make more aggressive early game, mid game plays with the Darmanitan snipe attack.
We're seeing more and more from the 4 research, 4 Ionos right now. Nick Moffat, I saw this earlier, tweeted yesterday, pretty convinced at this point, if your deck doesn't have 4 research and 4 Iono, you are doing something wrong.
Yeah, and we saw that from, is that all 3 of the top placing lists had 4 research for Iona? Yeah. So I mean, we're seeing it. It's happening. And it's kind of funny because like when they initially reprinted research was not that popular, hadn't been that popular of a card for a while. Like this is like
Yeah.
the most popular research. What we're coming up into in this meta specifically is maybe the most popular research has ever been since its reprint. Like did it get reprinted going into Scarlet and Violet? I actually forget
Yes, yes.
when.
Scarlet Violet base
Yeah,
set, we had the research reprints. Yes.
yeah. So since that point, it really has never been that played or that popular. It's always been a good card in some top decks, but right now we're kind of seeing its yeah, we're trying to kind of see it come to the forefront as like one as the main way to like play decks right now, to
We
be
lost
honest.
a lot of powerful onboard draw options, and so
Yeah.
you got to make up with it with one of the best draw supporters that's ever existed, probably the best draw supporter that has ever existed. And then we've got Peter's Terabox list. This is probably the only deck that you can excuse not playing for research for Iono. It would be pretty bad to play for research and for Iono in this deck, but heavy on the Crispins. I feel like 4 Crispin is probably a pretty good inclusion in this deck, but
Yeah, I'm actually
um,
almost like surprised to not see the 4 because I feel like that it just makes so much sense to the deck. It's literally the card you always want in your hand.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to not see the 4 Crispin. It felt like everyone was kind of headed that way. I think the other Terabox list we just looked at from, I think, uh,
From Wancho.
yeah, had 4 Crispin, and then was
Yeah.
there one from Johannesburg? There was one, and I think they had 4 Crispin as
Yeah,
well.
the
Yeah, right,
second
and Harper's. Yeah,
second place in Johannesburg. Yeah, 4
yeah,
Crispin. Yeah, pretty much everyone plays 4 Crispin. It's definitely the outlier here to see 3 Crispin.
yeah. At this point, for sure. But yeah, Terabox, like we're talking about, I mean, it's pulling some results as of late. The meta has been getting better for it, and like one of the big points that I've been talking about around Terabox is like the point where I think Terabox actually becomes a good play again is when Dragapults start cutting unfair stamp. And the highest placing Dragapult at this tournament did not have unfair stamp.
Yep.
Because the other deck that was kind of making things tough for Terabox was Tank Terapagos, but that's been taken care of by Gardevoir's popularity and success. You really can't play Tank Terapagos and expect to win the tournament right now, or even do that well. Like making top cut would be a struggle with something like Tank Terapagos. So with that going way down in popularity, and now with seeming like Dragapults might start to shift away from unfair stamp, that's like this might be coming up to be the time to play Terabox. Maybe not Milwaukee coming up this weekend, but maybe the weekend after.
Honestly, Loki, I feel like Dragapult is shifting down in the meta as a whole. Like with Gardevoir winning so much and that matchup kind of being shored up as like a very solidly Gardevoir favored matchup. We'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about Milwaukee, but I feel like a lot like if you're a good player who's been playing Dragapults, I don't know if you can really decide to run Dragapult for this event, you know?
Yeah, it feels like maybe I mean one of the things that go with that we can kind of look at is like is Dragapult just out of innovations to be able to tackle the next expected problem. We've seen the no Dusknoir builds, we've seen the stuff like the Genesect, we've seen people shift to like heavier Jack and Brox here. Um, and then we've now seen the jamming towers and the Neo Upper Energy get involved. Is there anything else to do, or at some point Gardevoir just going to become too
Maractus,
popular?
baby.
Oh, of course, the Maractus, yeah, which we saw be super effective. This is Kim's list, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, Kim completely dismantled. I forget who's playing the Joltic box, but in top 16, yeah, the asymmetrical win in round. The Maractus completely dismantled the Joltic box. It was kind of it was pretty cool to see for sure. Uh,
What did he stick?
Everything, like it just like yeah, it came to a situation for Thomas where Thomas just didn't have energy in play to work with, or had energy left to like set up a next attacker. Thomas definitely made some mistakes. I mean, game one, I think game one and game two, he just overbenched, didn't leave himself room for Iron Leaves. Game one, didn't really matter because his last prize card in game one, he got down to one prize card remaining. It was the Iron Leaves, but he didn't give himself, he didn't leave a bench space open, so he wouldn't have been able to utilize it even
Okay.
if he had drawn into it. So, and then game two, same thing happened. I think he filled his bench too early. The Maractus got involved, and then things fell apart from there. Yeah, there's no switch cards in here besides the Prime Catcher, and it got used pretty early in both games.
And yeah, last week we talked about this deck a little bit, Joltic Box. Like, was it here to stay? We'd seen it kind of pop up already. We knew about it a little bit leading up to last weekend's events. Like, was it going to be a continued force in the metagame? And it was. It was a pretty decently popular deck day one. It was the sixth most popular deck at 4.5%. And then in day two, it actually jumps up quite a bit to 8.8%.
Yeah, and go ahead and turn the variant pairing off real fast so we can see the better representation for Dragapult. But yeah,
Oh, true.
Dragapult was
Yeah.
still the dominant force in day one. What was it? Was it like 20% in day one?
Yeah. Overall, yeah, 22%
22.
day one.
Raging Bolt was actually the second most popular deck there. Golden Go hanging out as well. Actually, I'm kind of surprised to see Gardevoir only at 8.4, to be honest. That's actually a little bit of a surprise. And then past that, to be honest, it's really hard to tell like what is even worth playing at that point, to be honest, past Gardevoir. Like the top four, I feel like are pretty solidified. I mean, I'm not a huge Raging Bolt fan, so I would kick Bolt out of there myself as
I
well.
mean, I
But I
think
think
any
I was
of
gonna
these from Joltic box up, I would say, are all reasonable decks to want to play for a tournament.
well, I'd say Archelodon and Raging Ball a little bit fraudulent. But yeah, I would say Terabox and Joltic are the ones. I think those decks I don't know if like Terabox should be more popular. Joltic Box will probably get more popular and probably is a little bit underplayed right now, I think, for sure. And then honestly, I'd maybe give a shout to Zoroark all the way down there as well. Maybe that might be a little bit underplayed here as well.
Sure. Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. And then, yeah, let's look at that Raging Bolt deck list real quick. Looks pretty normal to what we've seen from Raging Bolt. Is this actually just Blitzel's list?
No Ursaluna.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
how close it is. But yeah, no Ursaluna, double crystal. But yeah, there's nothing crazy here at all. This is basically what has become a lot of recovery. Actually, that's more recovery than I think we normally see. The 2 retrieval and 2 night treasure. I feel like it's usually 2 to 3 cards of recovery. Maybe it's usually like double night treasure plus like 1 energy retrieval. But I think it's
Yeah.
usually 3. So maybe a little bit more recovery, but nothing crazy here at all.
And yeah, that rounds out kind of the top cut here. Oh, I guess actually, did we talk? We didn't talk about this yet.
Oh no, we should talk about that.
Frostlass Monkey Dory. Yep, made top cut. Pretty straightforward deck list. I was gonna say 4/4 Frostlass, but no, a 3/4
Yeah.
Frostlass, 4 Monkey Dory. The Gravity Gemstone with the Badoo is a pretty nasty combo to stick some stuff early game while you're trying to get set up. And then yeah, Devolution, Counter Catcher, the whole works.
Yeah. And it has a Maractus in there as well for like more retreat blocking shenanigans. So you got the Badoo with the Gemstone or the Maractus or Saluna for the late game. And honestly, I think this deck is just kind of good. The double team Devo in there is really, really good against Dragapult because Dragapult decks are so slow right now. They're like, taking their time to get up through their Dracloak. So if you can just hit them with a TM Devo, their response is going to be evolve to Dracloaks, and you're gonna get another turn to build up damage with Monkey Dory, another turn for Frostlasses to hit them, and then you can, if you want, just deal them again, and then they have to evolve to Dracloaks again, and you get another turn of Monkey Dories, another turn of Frostlass picking the Dracloaks. So it can get pretty interesting how that matchup can play out,
Yeah,
especially up against the full slow Bolt with no
And
candies.
Gemstone is super good in the Badoo Wars as well. We see people playing like the tools to give their Badoos more HP, which this has, right? You can boost your Badoo up with a Bravery Charm if you wanted to, but I feel like Gemstone for those specific terms is way better to like prevent. Like you could go, you know, uh, Itchy Paw and take a knockout on a Badoo, which you don't always necessarily want to do, right?
Mm.
Uh, uh, I don't, I kind of got lost in the sauce there with what I'm saying. I'm not gonna lie because that makes no sense with the gravity gemstone. I'm not gonna lie. You
The
got
one thing
lost in
it
my thought
does the
process.
one thing it does in the Badoo Wars, if they have a Bravery Charm on theirs, you're not gonna kill that thing for like 8 turns. So
Yeah, yeah.
trapping it in the active, like if you have a
That's
gemstone on your Badoo, then it could get stuck there for an extra turn while they're building up their Dragapult or something like that.
yeah.
And then you just keep healing the damage off it, obviously, over and over and over again with your Monkey Dory. So yeah, I think Frostlass Monkey Dory is definitely real. I think it's definitely good. But it's gonna be. This is one of those decks. This is exactly one of those decks where it's like, how popular will it get? That's gonna be the question, and
Yeah.
probably not very much. But I would not be surprised to see it have more success moving forward for sure.
Well, this is the type of deck that less experienced players play really poorly against that leads to these decks having more inflated win
A little
rates.
inflated, yeah, definitely, definitely,
Yeah. You can bench and
definitely that style
evolve
of deck.
less things, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, just stop benching, stop evolving. Play around item lock, play around retreat lock.
yeah.
Yeah, more things to think about, but yeah, it definitely does take advantage of the average player. There's like a group of those decks that are just like you're going to be better against the average player, just because the deck is a little bit different than the average deck.
All right, well, let's recap our predictions from Seville. The first one was going to be how many Monkey Dory would there be in cut? Azul said 9, I said 12, and then the actual was 14. Shout outs to Frostlass for carrying the prediction there.
Yeah, my prediction. I remember saying I was trying to make a guess on how many Gardevoir I thought would make cut, and I
Yeah.
forgot about Frostlass. And that deck sometimes apparently plays 4 Monkey Dory. So yeah, that's a lot of Monkey Dories in cut.
Highest placing Fan Rotom deck. Azul was a bit of a hater on the Fan Rotom decks coming in, but did give it a top 16. I said top 8. And we did see Peter with the top 4 finish. We are just talking about Seville. Wancho did obviously win with a Fan Rotom
Yeah.
engine deck, but yeah, looking at Seville, Peter with the top 4 finish.
Yeah, Van Rotem got in there a little bit, and there was the Flareon just outside of cut in 11th. I actually wasn't paying super close attention to it was an asymmetrical 10-player asymmetrical cut. Well, I wasn't paying super close attention to like the potential of how many players could get in top cut into this one, to be honest, towards the end of it, which is usually something that I'm tracking pretty heavily.
Yeah. And then lastly, we did pick a player to make cut. Azul picked Stefan. which was a little silly because Stefan did not go to this event. Stefan is actually playing in the Japanese expanded tournament this weekend in Aichi, the Champions
The-
League. So I think is like traveling over there currently. And I picked Pedro. So by default, I win because Pedro at least played in the tournament. But Pedro did not make day two. So he
Uh-oh.
did not get to make cut either.
And no players in cut this time around. But yeah, that was another jam packed. It was a jam packed weekend of Pokemon. We got another one coming up. But before we talk about that, I was gonna say like always, but honestly, the drama's been kind of low key in the Pokemon community for a while. I feel like
Yeah. And this is
everyone's been
pretty
really nice
light.
to each other. Like, yeah, the
What
drama's been pretty low key for a while now.
And what we're going to talk about here is pretty light when it comes to drama. It's more just like
Yeah,
a point of discussion, slight point of contention in the community, and that is around special events. So this is something that ever since special events kind of came on to the circuit back in the 2017 season, this has been a thing people have been talking about, and it is the fact that
reoccurring.
special events and regionals are weighted the same when it comes to championship points and naturally, because there's no prize money, you'll see a few less people traveling from far away to them. Special events are just a little bit smaller of tournaments.
Except for the
And
European ones.
except for the European ones. And honestly, a lot of the Latin
Latin America.
America ones
Yeah,
have gotten pretty big too. But
yeah,
there's still some, like Puerto Rico is usually pretty small. South Africa, specifically, pretty small. And that's one of the main, that's really what brought this on is the South Africa special event. Because a lot of people try to use these opportunities to go travel to these events where there will be less people and maybe a region that has less tournaments where they feel like they are going to find an opportunity to earn more championship points than they would maybe necessarily at home. It's almost like a people see it as kind of a pay to win thing. And so some players think, that there's been all sorts of discussions about like these special event tournaments being region locked, where you can only play in these tournaments if you're from the region in which the tournament is taking place. And I think there is something a little bit broken with the system when it comes to the amount of points that are paid out. Like Chris Franco here points out going 3-3-2 in South Africa gets you the same amount of championship points as going 10-3 in Atlanta. I do think that there's probably something a little bit wrong with that.
yeah, yeah. I think and honestly, anyone who's advocating for before, I don't even know what ground you're standing on anymore. But people will talk about the idea of region locking special events because you had players like coming into the regions and like basically taking the points out of the region. But now that it's a top X system, that
Yeah.
doesn't really apply because if you were 10th place before and nobody in your region got championship points, you're still 10th place in your region. So that doesn't apply at all anymore. So there's no reason now for special events to be region locked at all.
Well, now you
There-
could argue the side of it of like someone who is outside of the top 125 in America that hasn't
Yeah,
placed well at American tournaments. Now they go to this smaller tournament.
it'll be
They
an
could
easier tournament.
someone who couldn't go 10-3 in Atlanta but can go 3-3-2 in South
Yeah,
Africa to get the points
yeah. Now
to now qualify for Worlds.
that's where the argument should be. We shouldn't be trying to make the game less international. We should only want the game to be more international. That grows the game, grows the competition. I've never heard, and you'll hear this from some of the bigger figureheads in these communities. I know Pablo is one of the players who like brings this up a lot when he talks about the community in Mexico. They don't care like if American players come to their events, like specifically to call out like American players, just using it as an example. They don't care if American players come to their events. They do not care, from what I can tell. Like none of the players care. So some people bring up that like, but if so if the community doesn't care, if for the current structure is top X, so you're not really taking away any like previous in the old system, you could argue, well, there's only so many points in the region, and if out of region players, like let's just use America, because this a lot of people this is talking point is around American players. If American players come to these Latin American regions, they're taking points out of those regions, and now those players can't earn their worlds invites. But that's not true anymore because we're in a
Yeah.
top system, which means, like I said, if you're 10th place, a special event happens, 0 people in your region get championship points from the special event because all the American players that came, you're still 10th place. So that's not a good argument anymore. So region locking special events is something that basically probably should have never happened anyways because we want more international competition. It's definitely something that should have happened now based on the new system. The only argument you could now make would be that point payouts should be based on attendance, which I'm not personally against, but we need to like how are people still making the other argument at all is just blowing my mind. But yeah, I'm not fully against that to be honest. The idea that a 300 person regional maybe shouldn't give as much championship points as a 2,000 person regional. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me. Or special event, and special events are special events instead of regionals for different reasons, but they're basically all the same. They're the same tier of tournament, right? So a 200 person special, like an 800 person special event, like special events shouldn't be different than regionals in that term either, because we had just like an 800 person special event, or we've had like an over 1,000 person special event in Europe this year, or maybe even in Brazil as well. So like these special events are getting a lot. They're not special events just because there's not that many players there. There's
Yeah.
different reasons why special events are special events, so they shouldn't be super separated from regionals in that way. But like, yeah, maybe special events and regionals, that tier of tournament point payout should be based on attendance. I wouldn't be against that. Question is
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I don't know where the breaking points would be. Someone at TPCI has got to crunch the numbers and maybe come up with something. But for the most part, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's only to the extreme. So maybe it'd be like it should just be events that are like sub 1,000 players or sub 500 players or something like that. But then everything above 1,000 players is all the same. Maybe that would be the fix.
Yeah. There's actually this post from Dallas who went to the tournament. He's an American player, went to compete in the tournament. He actually played, I believe, in the South African special events last year as well. So seems like he had a good time, decided to go back and do it again this year. Um, Said that because there was a tweet that I think kind of blew up a little bit on Sunday morning that was like at the South African special event, they're playing the tournament in someone's kitchen. That and The judges are using Chat GPT to like figure out rulings and stuff like that. And I think that Dallas wanted to kind of clear some things up. And one of the things he does mention here is that the South African players are incredibly welcoming to the international competitors and are genuinely excited to compete against us. Several players even asked if we plan to return in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So that covers that point. And that's like basically the sentiment I see basically like put out on Twitter all the time. I never see someone being like, you know what? You're right. We don't want any American players at our tournaments. I've never seen
Right.
anyone say that. Now, maybe it's a little bit of like a like, do you really want to be that guy on Twitter when everyone else is saying the opposite? Maybe that's it. But like, I've never seen anyone hold the other sentiment. Yeah, there was a couple of different things that were said. I remember reacting to a tweet live on my stream, reading about the Chat GPT answering ruling things, and I was like, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't actually know
I wonder
how
how
much of any of that
accurate.
was true at
I
this
wonder.
point, to be honest.
I wonder how accurate Chat GPT would be at delivering a Pokemon ruling. That might be an interesting test. Put some
A good
like
question.
some challenging parameters into it and see I have to imagine it would be terribly wrong about some of the unique like interactions of the game, but who knows?
It
But then
definitely would
yeah,
be interesting.
on the point of like the kitchen table thing, Jonah Alter, who is a South African player, said, just thought I'd chime in here. It's not someone's home. It's a house that's been turned into a game store. They sell product, run events there regularly, have a kitchen so you can buy food at events. So it's like there was like the tweet, the thought about like they're playing at the kitchen table, but it's not at someone's house. It's just a home that's converted into a card shop. It sounds like.
Yeah, which is completely different. I think the initial tweets were very misleading as to what was actually happening at this event, at this tournament, and was definitely exaggerated to what was actually going on there, which is something. I mean, like misinformation is never good. If there is something bad going on, it's a lot harder to. If there is something that shouldn't be going on, then talk about it. But if there's not, and it's not that big of a deal or that bad, then there's no reason to like blow things out of proportion at all. So yeah, I think things are definitely blown out of proportion. Everything I saw does not seem to be very accurate to what actually went on there. And yeah, it sounds like it was just like a house that had been turned into a card shop, which nothing sounds crazy to me about that. And they had a kitchen there still. The kitchen was still in there. I guess that was basically it. So it sounds things were blown way out of proportion. And now I don't want to like read too much into like the Chat GPT stuff or anything like that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, apparently there was players at this event from all regions as well. There's a player from EU, Latin America, Japan, North America, and even Oceania as well, as noted here at the in the reply. So yeah, people traveling from all over to still go to these things, which I think we want the game to just feel more and more international. In regards to like the Chat GPT stuff or whatever, like for judge rulings, obviously I think like you would hope that whoever's judging any event has the knowledge themselves to just be able to make rulings based on things that come up, right? But this is one of the things of they have 2 tournaments a year. They have 2 special events a year. They don't have a dozen regional championships like some of our judges have had over the last couple
Yeah.
of years, right? So there's just less opportunity to be experienced. So there's just going to be more growing pains. That's part of like the process, and it's just like working together as a community and being understanding as a community as people begin to like learn more and see more of what goes into like running these events and stuff like that.
Definitely. We can't see the full picture of it. I don't even know what I said exactly after reading the initial tweet. So if I said anything rude or disrespectful, I definitely apologize for that. I don't remember exactly what I said.
I
Just
like
the initial.
the blanket. I don't know if I messed up, but if I did, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I said, but I don't know what I said. I don't think I said anything too crazy. I mean, the tweet made everything sound a little bit crazy that I initially read on
Right.
stream. So that made everything sound a little crazy. And in the moment it was definitely the idea of it was definitely funny. But yeah, I think there is like I mean, I don't know if ChatGPT was involved at all or anything like that, but I think there's like a Discord server with like a bunch of judges in it as well. So that'd be like the probably the
Yeah.
top resource to go to and just be like, I'm sure someone's awake. I don't know what time zone they're in down in Johannesburg. Um, but I'm sure someone's awake somewhere in the world that has the knowledge to be able to help them out. But yeah, I mean, seeing the game grow everywhere is cool to see. I mean, I don't know if this was their biggest tournament ever. It might be that. I know they have another special event coming up here at the end of the year, or towards the end of the season. And yeah, more international competition is good. Like I don't understand this. Like it's. I feel like people are trying. Like the biggest thing with that is like if there is the solution to the problem should not be less competition. The answer should never be less competition. If we think there's a problem with the point, like people being able to get too many points at these smaller events, and yes, the smaller events are easier. Doing well at Johannesburg is way harder than Atlanta, or way easier than Atlanta,
Yep.
right? That's fine. We can all admit that. And then from there, we have to be like, the answer is not to exclude international competition. The answer is maybe to reduce the amount of points that can be earned at these smaller special event slash regional events. Like I said, maybe sub 500 is like 500 is a breaking point. Then maybe 1,000 is a breaking point. And then if you're at 1,000 plus players, maybe it's all the same from there. I don't know what the answer is, but that's like a real answer. The answer is not ban everyone who's not in the region. That's not
I
the answer.
actually so kind of thinking about it logistically, I'm actually wondering now, like if we did something like that, where it's like there's a certain threshold. Let's take like a region like Australia, for example.
Mhm.
Um, if they change the amount of points, because their tournaments like 500-ish players or less.
Oh, so now if they travel out,
Yeah, so now it
ooh,
rewards the
okay.
players who are more willing to travel out, and it's like a
They're
more
so
expensive.
rewarded. I'm pretty sure all the Australian players know anyone who leaves the country for like 3 regionals is gonna get an invite, and they are all competing against each other.
I don't know that
Like,
that's necessarily true. I don't think that's true actually.
that's
That
pretty hard to compete
Well,
against.
I think the 3 people traveling out of region for tournaments, like, it's less because they're
No, I
doing
was
it to
saying
I don't think they're doing it to grind for their invite. They're doing it because they're good at the game and they wanna, go travel and try to win, right?
no, I'm saying, like, if a player from Australia what I said was if a player what I meant was I don't actually know what I said. If a player from Australia, like, leaves Australia and goes to, like, 3 regionals, not 3
Yeah,
players, but, like, 1 player just is like, "I'm just gonna go to 3 American regionals," like, they're getting their invite, right? I think the other Australian players, like, no, that player's probably gonna get their invite
sure.
because they're going to, like because Australia has what, 3 regionals? So, like, if one even just
Okay,
1
sure.
player if they just leave the region for an IC and 2 American regionals, it's like, okay, they're gonna get their invite. We're competing against each other here now. You know what I'm saying? So even if their regionals are worth less points, but that is true. That is a complication that comes up, right? Even for
Make all those
players,
smaller tournaments worth less points than it rewards then it's like, and because they only get, like, 10 invites as well, isn't that right? Something like that? Or is it
yeah,
25 maybe? It might be 25.
yeah. So I guess no matter what, someone is taking. Yeah, it'd just be like the reverse would be taking a hit, right? Would be just like the players who travel more out of these regions with less majors. Are almost guaranteed their invite, or are more likely to be guaranteed their invite, basically, just by getting any placements. Whereas, like the other side of it is where we are now, where it's like for the most part, you have American players or some European players, whatever, going to these smaller tournaments to try and get points. And it's easier for them to get points to compete against everyone back in their home region. Um, yeah, I guess like no matter what, you're gonna have. I guess like what is the worst of the two problems? I feel like maybe the current problem is worse than the potential problem of of doing it based on attendance. But maybe Pokemon thought about all this and they've decided let's just keep it all the same across the board. And maybe they've already gone through this process and that's
Yeah.
why we are where we are. Overall, if they didn't change anything, I don't think it would be a huge deal. I personally am still on that boat, and I think the last thing we want to do is discourage international competition. I think that's just like bad for the game's growth overall, even in these terms of these special events type situations.
All right. Well, there's that. I hope we don't ever have to talk about this topic again, to be honest.
We'll see you next year, though, for
Maybe
sure.
we should take a stand and say we're just not going to talk about this anymore because it's kind of silly that we keep talking about it every year unless something changes with how they work the system. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, once a year, I think
if a
getting
lot of
our
people are talking
yearly,
about it, I guess we should talk about it, but
yeah, yearly special event discussion. There's going to be new players in the game who aren't as familiar as well. We can be a little bit of an information hub in that kind of sense as well.
it won't become the weekly complaining about TCG Live or
Yeah, we have to not make sure it's not that we can't make it a list. It's like, all right, the
the
checklist is complain about TCG Live, give our opinion on special events.
yeah, talk about how we wish that the release schedule would be synced across the world.
Mention something about Pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, someone should
Checklist.
do a uncommon energy bingo card or something like that. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to guess that flavor text. But before we do, we of course have to take a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products on the market. We love them for their sleeves, and I actually had a chance to use some sleeves this weekend. I did not use one of the new boxes from the new colors that have recently come out, the amber and the amethyst. I actually used some older sleeves, the Justice dual mats, and I remembered how nice these felt. These are actually the sleeves I used for this tournament that I played in the League Challenge are the same sleeves I used when I played at LAIC in 2023, the fall of 2023. I had not unsleeved that deck fully, and they were sitting in the deck box. And I was like, I should just use some of the sleeves that I've had. And so those sleeves made it all the way through 9 rounds of regionals. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, we'll use them for the locals as well. So shout outs to the Justice dual mat sleeves. I like this color a lot. I usually am not a big fan of the dual mats, but these feel really, really nice. I do very much prefer the regular mats or the classics, but these dual mats, it's a nice color and a good feel. I'm going to leave a link to these down in the description if you want to pick them up for yourself. And of course, if you want to get a little discount and also support us, you should use that code UEPOD. That's UEPOD to get yourself 5% off and also help to support us here.
Yeah. Shout out to Dragon Shield as always. And up next, got guess that flavor text. This week, it is my turn to pick a card, read the flavor text, and then Chip can try and guess which Pokemon the card and flavor text belong to. There'll be 3 lifelines that Chip can use if he wants. If he uses none of them, he gets 4 points. For each lifeline used, he'll get 1 less point. The lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and then read an attack name on the card. Chip, are you ready for this week's flavor text?
I am indeed ready. Current score stands at 33-29. Myself leading the way against Azul. Shout outs to Tim in Games who keeps track of the scoreboard for us with all these little stats that he keeps for us as well. Yeah, just looking to get some more points this week. I'm not looking for like a 4-point spike. If I can just like get some points to ensure there's no way you can tie it up next week, I'll be happy with that.
All right, Chip, this week's flavor text is they make their home in deserts. They can generate their energy from basking in the sun, so eating food is not a requirement.
Cacnea. I'm just gonna lock. Should I just lock it in? I don't know. I kind of think it's Cacnea, low key. Have we done a Cacnea before? Let me hear the flavor text one more time. That was like my initial snap thought because it's like a flower soaking up the sun as well, a cactus. Let's hear it one more time. Give me the flavor text.
They make their home in deserts. They can generate their energy from basking in the sun, so eating food is not a requirement.
Okay, what stage is the card?
Basic.
What set is the card from?
It is from Flashfire.
All right, Is there a Cacnea in that set? It could be. Could it be Helioptile? Or Heliolisk? Wait, what's the little one? Helioptile is the little one. It could be Helioptile. Because there is, I can picture a Helioptile in Flashfire and a Heliolisk. I don't know if I can picture a Cacnea. Let me have an attack name. I'll go ahead and use all 3 of the lifelines.
Attack name is Pound.
I really probably could be either of them. If you had said Pin Missile, I would have loved it. A slam Cacnea for sure. Pound. Let me just hear it one more time.
They make their home in deserts. They can generate their energy from basking in the sun. So eating food is not a requirement.
The eating food part, like I feel like Helioptile still got to eat some food, but Cacnea can get away without it. You know what? It was my initial thought. I feel like I should just stick with what my gut initial reaction was. I might be a little annoyed that I didn't just lock it in and get 4 points if this is correct, but let's just go with Cacnea.
Locking
Lock
it
it
in.
in.
It is not Cacnea.
Is
It
it
is.
Helioptile?
It
No.
is Helioptile, dude. I was so worried after you just like were like,
Ah,
yo, Helioptile though? Dude, how do you even remember
no.
the name? How do you remember the name of this card? How are you not just like the
Dude.
there he is.
That is so disappointing.
Oh my gosh. Also, what
Bro,
is this? Who does this guy evolve into again?
Heliolisk. It's like one of those bearded. It's like if its
Oh,
gills
sure.
flare out or whatever. Not
It's like
gills.
the yeah, it's like the
Like
guy from Jurassic Park.
exactly.
Remember with the Jeep scene?
Yes.
You know.
Oh, dude. Could have gotten a point. I just
Yeah, dude. I thought you were gonna get it
the
like
the
at that point.
the eating food part is kind of what got me. Like, I think it makes sense that a Cacnea wouldn't have to eat food, right? But I feel like
Yeah.
Helioptile, he's still got to be munching like on some bugs or something at least, right?
You'd assume he'd be munching for sure. I feel like
Certified
I feel like
muncher.
doesn't basking imply like laying down in the sun?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, kind of like actually, yeah,
So
that
I was
makes
afraid
sense.
once you got to Helioptile, you'd be like, wait a second, does Cacnea really basking out there like that?
And the answer is no. And there was not even a Cacnea. Was there? Yeah, there was only one Cacnea printed in the whole XY block.
Dude, look at him, bro.
It is a
Oh,
Yukamori art. So shout out to Yukamori arts. The little
hardship.
clay figures.
You do not extend your lead this time. I mean, now, I gotta like actually like, I still gotta like make up for some of these whiffs on your end, though. I'm still like
That is like
struggling
a
to get a point on the board.
really disappointing whiff. I'm not gonna lie. Please tell me at least one of these Cacneas actually has like a pound attack. Beat. Light
That's
punch.
close. Is that close enough, or I don't even know? Like, it's
No.
close enough.
Disappointing.
The beat.
All right.
All right,
Better
Chip. You'll
luck
get
next
him.
week, I guess.
Yeah, you'll get him next time. You'll get him next time. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Well, there are a couple of events coming up this weekend that we want to talk about. So there is the Milwaukee Regional Championships, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention the Aichi Champions League happening over in Japan. Now, this set is going to have the brand new Glory of Team Rocket set legal
Yep.
with the Rockets Mewtwo, which from what we looked at Champions Leagues last week, or not Champions League,
City
City
leagues.
Leagues, doesn't seem like it's had a huge impact so far, but really things kind of change a lot at these Champions Leagues where it's like all
Yeah.
the best players come together as well. Really take it seriously. So I wouldn't be surprised to still see some sort of Team Rocket deck do decently at the tournament, but it is a little disappointing that it feels like it hasn't had as big of an impact as we maybe would have liked to have seen.
Definitely need to wait and see what happens at Champions League. Yeah, I'm gonna have another big weekend of streaming coming up with Champions League happening as well. Unfortunately, oh, did we talk about this last time? I think we did, right? Like the reason that they didn't actually stream day one of I don't think there's a stream up for day one of Champions League again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
We
unfortunately, it's gonna be
didn't
day
talk
two.
about it, but Rahul replied to the video, and I think a lot of people saw it. I pinned it or hearted it as well, so I think a lot of people saw it. But because Rahul went and competed in the tournament, and he said that because they were doing the asymmetrical pairings or asynchronized pairings, that's what it is, right?
Async,
Asynchronized.
yeah,
Um,
not in sync. Actually, I take that back though. There is a live scheduled for Friday.
okay,
And one for Saturday. So it looks like they are streaming day one. So maybe
let's
they figured it
go.
out. Maybe they just wanted like a because this is the first time they ever did the async system. Um, so now they're maybe more comfortable to try and stream the event.
And I think Rahul had mentioned something as well as like how at that tournament they still had like the big stage setup during day one and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And like
yeah,
they were recording games and stuff as well. Like they had a matches picked. They were maybe just kind of trying it to
Oh,
see
yeah.
how it works if they were able to do it with the asynchronized pairings and stuff. But
Yeah, honestly, it might lead to us seeing more games, which would be kinda cool, and hopefully I mean, they might try and get the celebrity matches back in there now, which is like I mean, yeah, they don't ever show the celebrity matches in day 2 because the celebrities don't ever make it to day 2, um, but with the async rounds, maybe they won't even attempt to try and get the celebrities on the stream, we'll see, but I'll
we
definitely
got to
be
do
streaming
those,
day
and
1.
if the needle drop guy ever comes to a regional championships, we got to do celebrity games. Watch him every single
And
round.
see and
Play Poison Archaludon.
people have asked me about that because I make like I express that I'm annoyed by how often they show the celebrity players, and it's just such bad content because they're it's not high level game, not even it's not even like average level gameplay. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like some of them are actually okay. Some of them are actually okay, but like they're usually like 0 and 2. So even if they play okay, then maybe their opponent's not so good. Whatever.
Right.
It's bad content. But like yeah, if Fantano shows up to regional championships and he's 3-0, 4-0, I think that would be listen, I'm usually against I like to see top level players because you're gonna get good gameplay out of them. But I think I would come together with everyone and being like putting Fantano on stream would be kind of cool to
Well,
see that
yeah, if
happen
he
at a
was
Pokemon
3-0
event.
or 4-0, definitely.
Yeah, we're putting
I'm
him
joking
on.
about doing if there's some like when Leonhardt played in the regionals, if we'd had a Leonhardt stream and we watched every
Yeah,
single
yeah,
one of
yeah.
his
Oh,
games,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not trying to see anyone play that much Pokemon. I like we want some variety here. But yeah, if Leonhardt gets to 3-0, 4-0, he should be on stream as well. I think like that's good good for the game to have those higher profile players who are in the tournaments on stream.
Well, let's take a look at some of the kind of the metagame things from City Leagues this past week. So this is the top 16 metagame data from all City Leagues that took place from April 21st to April 27th. And we see Raging Bolt was leading the way with Gardevoir not too far behind. Dragapult's really falling off massively, though, from the dominance it's had in the last couple of formats.
Man,
And
I
I
just had a
wonder if this
thought.
is what we're gonna start to see, something similar to this in our format as we get more into, like, having these new cards.
Okay, and I had a thought. This is like completely removed from this, but I do have something to talk about as far as this goes as well.
Okay.
If there was like a side stream, no commentary, but it was every game, it was just towards gameplay every single round. What do you think the viewers on that would be versus the mainstream? Would that have more viewers?
It would probably be less still, but it would be a lot because you'd have a lot of people tabbing for
True, true.
sure.
A lot of people just have towards gameplay up and then mainstream up. Yeah,
Yes,
I
yeah.
just had like that thought though, because yeah, we're talking about like
I don't think it
I'm
would
not
detract from it, but, I
even toward.
think
I'm not trying to
I
watch toward every round either personally, but
I
um,
think it would be very cool if there was a that's something that they actually do for, like, golf, during a golf tournament. Like, they'll have the main broadcast, but,
mm,
if you subscribe to, like, ESPN Plus or whatever, you can get access to just one player's like, whatever the popular players are, feed for the entire tournament.
yeah, yeah, that's
I
cool.
think that would be pretty cool.
I that seems something that is like not unreasonable to have at maybe like IC level tournaments,
Let
and
me
maybe it
ask,
would.
how would you feel as someone who's a top level player who would potentially be a candidate for something like this? How would you feel to potentially have every single one of your games streamed?
I'm trying to think about that as well. Like there would probably have to be some kind of compensation for the player, right? I feel like I mean they could ask him like, if they asked me to do it, I would do it. But like I would if I was in their position. Like I think I'm in a little bit more of a unique position where like I'm used to having the spotlight on me constantly. I do the streaming, I do the YouTube videos. A lot of the other top level players out there, I don't think they want that constant. I prefer not to be on stream actually at tournaments. If they asked me to do something unique like that, I would definitely be down. Um, but like if I was in their position asking top level players, I would definitely there would have to be some kind of compensation we'd be willing to offer. I think so to make it would be worth it for the players. Um, but I think that'd be something very very cool, and I think a lot of people would like to see that as far as content goes. I think that the next step probably has to just be getting more games of per round on stream, having a side station that you can cut to or look at like game 3 of. Um, but but yeah, I think that would be I mean that'd be something that'd be cool. For sure. I think they actually started doing that with I want to say they did that with League of Legends where they would have you could tune into a stream where you just like watched one side. I forget what it was. I think they had something like that in like League of Legends at some point though.
Well, it's pretty
Um,
normal in esports tournaments. I feel like
yeah,
that
to have
because
other
a
stuff like
lot
that.
of pros also stream, right? And so it's not abnormal that at a major tournament that a pro would be streaming on their own channel, but then also there's like the main broadcast.
I don't think that ever happens. Like not live from the
Maybe
event
not
like
like
that.
it definitely happens like maybe not super big like official crazy ones like
Maybe like
but
other smaller type stuff, maybe. But no, no,
some
no,
of the
no.
big Twitch rival tournaments,
Okay, sure.
there's
Yeah,
been,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Twitch
Like
rival
Twitch rival
LANs and
tournaments.
stuff that they do
Yeah.
that.
That stuff's a little bit different because that's a little bit more focused on the streaming aspect, right? It's not as
Sure.
focused on the competition aspect. Like the big part of it is just the streamers being there. The streamers are the ones who are playing. But if you go to like a big CS:GO, League of Legends tournament, those things don't happen. Um, Another thing with that, as far as like this stuff goes, while we're on this run here, the another cool thing to see happen eventually would be like people at these tournaments doing live watch parties. Like imagine Wolfie like just at one of the ICs that he didn't want to go compete in. They fly him out there and he has like a little place there where he can like interview other VGC players and he's just like live watch party in the competition and stuff like that. That would be like a really cool thing to see added to at least the ICs and worlds. For like regionals. It's probably that's like far away from ever doing something like that, but the ICs and worlds are probably big enough to warrant something like that eventually. So that'd be cool. But yeah, City Leagues, the big thing we're lacking here is there's no Rockets Pokemon here in this meta breakdown at all. They're somewhere in other. They're somewhere with the Robo Substitute. And Raging Bolt is apparently the number one deck. But I have to imagine, we've seen this before, Raging Bolt hella overperforms early on in formats. This is not something that's new. And sometimes it does hold true for it's kind of interesting in Japan because it's like the set comes out, was it like 3 weeks before their major, and then the major happens, and that's all they have, and then the set is still out for after that. But then the new set comes out, they have that for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the major. They have their big major. Sometimes Raging Bolt does hold to the conclusion of their major tournament, but I feel like a lot of times it kind of comes up short. It did make it to the finals of the Japan Championships, I want to say last year, and then it did win one of the Champions Leagues this year, or one of the ones at the end of last season. So it does sometimes hold out, but I feel like Raging Bolt does overperform early on in formats, and we see that represented very heavily over in Japan because sometimes it doesn't carry over to us because we kind of already see it fall off in Japan, and then we don't even really pick it up to the same degree and play it as much as they do over in Japan. Um, but yeah, nothing too crazy over there, unfortunately. I think I expected a little bit more from Team Rockets.
Definitely. I mean, at least to be somewhere on here, right? Even if it's not
Yeah, where is
10%,
it?
at least to we'd expect it to at least be a 4%er, you know?
Yeah,
And maybe that'll change after the Champions League. Like things always change a little bit after like each set gets their big Champions League tournament because the best players kind of like show what they've been cooking, they bring their best, they bring
yeah.
um the deck that they've been working on and the Rockets stuff I think has that potential, but we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we definitely
Um
see a decent evolution of the meta, I feel like, at Champions League. As far as like the players who are more competitive or even the top level players bringing new innovations, like and sometimes there is like it's not like a one play. It's like it is like a meta innovation. It's kind of like things that everyone knows about. I'm trying to think of like a good example of that. But I guess like maybe Unfair Stamp being played in Dragapult post Champions League. It's like, oh, this Terabox deck is really good. The best ace spec against them in Dragapult is Unfair Stamp. Oh, now we all play Unfair Stamp. It's like it wasn't innovation in the meta, or it was the meta progression, but it wasn't like oh, this one player did this one thing and now it's going to become normal. It's kind of just like, oh, everyone just kind of like agreed and realized, oh yeah, this is just the best thing to do right now in this deck.
well, I mean,
Um,
a simpler example is just like the existence of the Terabox deck.
yeah, sure,
That's
that's a good one as well. Yeah,
it didn't exist before the tournament, and then lots of different Japanese player groups, it seems like, had this deck idea. And while whenever we got the format initially, the deck didn't have as much success. It was definitely like hyped up as one of the best decks coming into the format.
yeah.
Kind of didn't have quite as much success because people were prepared for it based on the results and based on the hype it had behind it. But now we're kind of coming back around in the meta to where that deck seems like it's pretty decent once again. Um, but yeah, we were just going to do a couple of quick predictions around the Champions League. Um, Not like maybe the full on thing that we normally do. But first one,
Yeah.
how many Team Rocket decks will actually make top cut? Are we going to see someone have something up their sleeves, Azul, and make a deep run at this event with it.
So crazy because like the trainer lineup for the Team Rockets cards is so absurd. Like I feel like that should be able to carry some Team Rockets Pokemon, probably Mewtwo, to more success than what we've seen in these in City League results and these like meta breakdowns. So I'm gonna believe that there is something out there, even if it has to be something innovated on by some top players or someone who can come up with something. So I'm gonna go ahead and say 2 Team Rockets decks will be in top cut in top 16.
I've kind of been a hater on Rocket's Mewtwo since the first day it got revealed. Now,
It's been crazy, bro. You've
there's
been an
been a
extreme hater.
lot of new cards revealed since then, right? The Guzma, the item card that searches for supporter cards, the guy that sets up all your basics that you can play on turn one. There's
Stadium.
the broken stadium card, right? So I was pretty big hater of the deck, but I think all those things combined, like that trainer lineup is enough to take a mediocre attacker to high potential. Like it is that good. It is that big of a difference. So I also believe that someone's going to make it happen, but at the end of the day, it's still super uh uh energy hungry attack that is still a lot of setup you have to have happen. So I'm going to say 1. I think someone's going to make it happen, but I honestly would not be surprised to still see it be 0. The
That's
the
so
the Pokemon
sad.
attacking options are just it's just not that good. But
Dude,
the
it's
trainer lineups are so insane.
honestly, owners Pokemon have been kind of underwhelming in general. You look at like the top decks here, and it's like no owners Pokemon, no owners Pokemon, no owners Pokemon, no owners Pokemon, no owners. Like no owner deck, I should say, like Clefairies and Gardevoir, stuff like that. All the way down to the Grimmsnarl. Apparently, Grimmsnarl is the deck, the owner's deck right now. And I thought Team Rocket was going to be the set where it was like the owners Pokemon are okay and Zoroark is okay, but then the Rocket set was going to drop and it's be like, oh my gosh, the owners Pokemon from here are crazy. The Mewtwo looked okay, but now we've seen everything. It's like it still looks solid, and the trainer engine for Rocket Sex is actually absurd. It doesn't maybe it's missing the Pokemon to go with it, but it's just like so. Owners Pokemon were just like such a disappointment. I think not. I don't really have expectations for cards, but it would like you'd hope that like the new cards would shake up stuff a little bit. But maybe this is one of those things where it's like these are definitely powerful combos, powerful cards like Zoroark, like the Rocket stuff. We might be a rotation away though, because like sometimes like these are such good like the synergy is like forced, obviously, but like these are such good combinations. Like maybe once Gardevoir rotates, next rotation, all of a sudden it unlocks like enough space in the meta for these owners Pokemon to just go crazy. So they're still around for a while, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We haven't seen a whole ton from them
We
yet.
got them for
I've been a
3
little
years.
disappointed. But yeah, I've been a little disappointed so far, but we still have them around for a little while. So there's like plenty of hope in the future. And that's like the cool thing about the Pokemon TCG. And I feel like that hasn't hit recently with set releases and rotations where it's like, oh, this card from a year ago is all of a sudden good now. I feel like that hasn't come up quite as much as
Yeah.
it used to in the past, but
Yeah,
who knows?
like
Maybe we're on track for that.
something like Reggie Drago or something like that.
Sure. Regidrag. But yeah. So that happened. We got the new engine for it, the Ogerpon
That
engine. We
is
had that
that
come
is
up.
like the one time that has happened though, it feels like in the last couple of
Yeah,
years. And
like
it you
Lawson stuff came out. Lawson was broken. Mew VMAX came out. Mew VMAX was broken. It's like they wasn't reviving old stuff. It was always just like new broken stuff. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that owners Pokemon aren't just broken when they release because maybe they'll be good in the future once the power level kind of levels out. But we do have Mega Pokemon coming out, so who knows if that's what's going to happen at all.
so most of what we'll talk about next week is going to be the results from the standard tournament that happens at Aichi, but there is also an expanded tournament happening in that city this weekend as well. It's like the one Champions League every single year that has an expanded tournament as well. And Stefan Ivanov is going to compete in the tournament, who is one of the biggest expanded lovers and also one of the best players in the game as well. So I think we're both going to be kind of rooting for him to see how he does over there. But we thought it was as well, it would be fun to do pick a deck to win the expanded tournament this coming weekend in Aichi.
Yeah, I would pick whatever Stefan is playing, but I don't know what Stefan is playing. So I'm gonna go with the Lugia GG. The no cards have been banned recently, like since like Scoop
I
Up
don't
Net,
think
right?
so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going with the Lugia GGN deck because that deck looks disgusting.
Yeah, that deck does feel gross. Lugia and Expanded just feels disgusting as well with Wally plus Battle Compressor. Like, there's just so many ridiculous broken cards. I promise you one thing: whatever deck wins and Expanded is going to be dumb. It's going to be some dumb, crazy combo. But that's kind of like what the format has become. And I don't know that that's necessarily like terrible. It's just different, right?
You know what you're getting into at this point, I think
Yes.
I would say, right? Like, you know what's happening, so it's not,
Yeah. So you're going with the Lugia. I'll go with a different V-Star Pokemon, also from Silver Tempest. I'll go with Regidrago because I think Regidrago is pretty good over there still as well. With Double Dragon Energy, one of the most broken energy cards that's ever existed. Yeah, I think that there's some potential there for sure.
yeah, you were mentioning, like, broken decks, like, there was the Ryota got 2nd at the last Champions League Aichi, with, like, that Raichu Electrode EX
Mm.
deck that was just, like, ridiculous. Like, I just went and looked it up to, like, remind myself because I remember, like, there was some weird deck with a Raichu that did well. So, yeah, I'm there's probably the depth in, like, what could be cooked and expanded and be good or broken is probably just really, really high, but so few people play the format, like, it leaves a lot of opportunity for innovation and to, like, bring something out of nowhere. So I'm kind of excited to see what, does well there. It's the only expanded tournament of the year anymore, right? There's one major tournament in expanded a year. It's Champions League Aichi. That's what it was last year. I don't know about the year before that. There was some expanded tournament the year before that. I think Japan has one every year, and that's the only expanded tournament that happens anymore.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's some. Oh yeah, dude, look at this man, dude. This
yeah,
Pikachu card,
you gotta
discard a
have it.
fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That's so
Firefighter
sick.
Pikachu, bro. You're fighting the fires, bro.
Oh
oh,
man, dude, it would
um,
be so sick if they did some sort of like. It would be cool. Like obviously, the way special events work now is they're used for regions that like don't have regional championship support for whatever reason, right? But it would
yeah,
be cool if they did some sort of special events in North America just for like these alternate formats
yeah.
and did them like around the time of other majors. Like if the week before NAIC they did an expanded um
Well,
special event or something like that, or a GLC special event. Like
yeah.
that would be super cool.
So my understanding, I could be wrong on this. My understanding is that this is ran. See, I don't know if you can play it. I don't know if you can register for this and then also play in the main event. You might have to pick between the expanded and the standard. I
I'm pretty
think
sure you do.
yeah, I think they do run this on the second day of the Champions League tournament, but that's probably just like space reasons because there's way less people playing in this in the standard. But you might have to pick between the two tournaments. I was saying like, but like at American regionals, or maybe not regionals, maybe ICs, worlds, there's no reason, and maybe this is where something a kind of a tournament that is like between a regional and a league cup exists. It would be at like regionals or ICs, but they could exist outside of that as well. But what if they ran like a tournament that is between league cup and regionals on like day 2 of ICs or something that's
Well,
expanded?
they do that with GLC. Like
Yeah, but it's just
the
like,
GLC tournament at NAIC every year has like 300 plus people in it. Like
yeah,
it's big. But the problem is like the best players are playing in the actual tournament. And I think it would
yeah,
be really
yeah.
cool if there was something on the line where it's like because
You
something
want all
like
the best players to show
GLC
up.
and like expanded, they look totally different whenever people are playing it for fun versus people who are playing it to win. You know, like if people just find some disgusting broken combo that is overpowered in the format, like the best players who've like actually invested time into it, who played back in these time frames as well, who like have greater card pool knowledge, maybe like that's a piece that gives some people a little bit of an edge too. I think like seeing like an Andrew Hedrick or Henry Chow or yourself, right? Or like Ian Robb, like any of these top American players, or Bradner, who's a great deck builder, like seeing any of these guys like commit time to one of those formats to find something super unique would be really cool. And
It
like
is true.
blow the lid off the format. And you're not going to see it if they hold the tournament the same weekend as an IC that they've been preparing for instead.
It maybe becomes one of those things where it's like, especially if we're talking about like to try and get it into the American point in the year at some point would be like we had the special event at Origins in the past run like maybe a special event at Origins and it's expanded or something like that.
And that tournament was
Um,
always the week before NAIC as well
yeah, so it would kind of line up pretty well. I mean, I guess we're not in the same city anymore, so that
as
would line up.
Origins. Yeah.
Yeah, that lined up like ridiculously well. But yeah, I mean, bringing expanded back, I don't think it should be the focal point of any like major tournaments anymore. And so as far as regionals and ICs go, for uh, in Japan, it's fine, but like for America and Europe, it shouldn't be. But like trying to bring it back in some way in like a special event size tournament as well, I think that'd be fine. Um, style of tournament, that'd be fine. Or like something
I
else. Like if they bring back state championships and somehow those expanded, there can be like expanded state championships or something. Or not state
I
championships, but something that fits that role.
I definitely don't want them to take away a standard regional
Yeah.
championships though, you know? It would be
Standard's
cool
too
maybe
important.
if there was like one expanded tournament a year, like if they did a regionals level support for it. Just like one regionals level support expanded event, one regionals level support GLC event. Maybe that would be what it would take to get people to really invest some time into it to see some of those cool things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It could definitely lead, it would lead to some, it would be, everything would be, it would be hype, but everything would be broken for some of the situations. Like there'd be a lot of situations where things are just like broken
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, let's talk about Milwaukee now. Now, neither of us is going to be going to the tournament. Azul doesn't like to play in Pokemon tournaments anymore, and I'm
Cringe.
having a baby probably this weekend or early next week. So it'll be not good timing for me to be flying very far away.
I
Um,
decided to take this one off to be moral support for Chip. You know, I'll be on call if he needs me to, you know,
okay.
help him get through everything. So gotta be there for him. But yeah, not gonna be going to Milwaukee. But there's gonna be a lot of people there. This was actually gonna be, I don't want to say one of the smaller tournaments, but I think this tournament could have been a lot bigger. It like sold out instantly. And you know, you had players like, I don't know if Rowan got in on the second wave, but like obviously he's a pretty seasoned player who uh you know, he's probably sitting there the second it goes live, he's registering, right? He doesn't miss registrations often. So that means it sold out pretty fast, probably. Um, this one definitely could have been quite a bit bigger. I actually don't know how many people are registered for it because I did not register for this one. But I think it was sub 2,000 at some point.
Yeah, which is definitely a little bit of a disappointment. I think Milwaukee's a pretty good destination. I had a good time at the Milwaukee Regionals a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
But yeah, not gonna be one of the bigger ones. It usually those like upper Midwest tournaments are a little bit smaller.
yeah.
Really the biggest ones pretty much always are just like the East Coast because like such a high percentage of people who live in the United States live on the East Coast and are
Yep.
willing to like drive farther away as well. Like that's why Atlanta was so big. That's why I mean Louisville would have
Things,
been a lot bigger probably, but Charlotte was
everything's,
always one of the bigger ones. Orlando's always one of the bigger ones.
everything's more condensed over there, so it's easy for flights and traveling and driving and all that.
Yeah.
I will say this. Actually, I was going to mention this while we're talking about numbers because I did look it up. I was just like on the Arcanine site. But yeah, NAIC is at 480.65 after the second wave. So not quite 5,000 TCG players registered. And if you're looking at like what 300, how many juniors and seniors show up to these things?
Probably 3 and 3, something like that.
I think so. I'm just gonna go back and look at UIC.
4,000 masters. Let's go with that.
That's what I mean. But yeah, but then how many are we gonna? Do you think we're gonna get 4,000?
No, it'll be like 38 probably.
Yeah,
38 to 4. Maybe because maybe it's like 4,200 registered masters, you know.
it's 327 at UIC for seniors, and it's probably similar. Yeah, 280 for juniors. So there's gonna be like let's say 700 players reduced. So then we're looking at 4,100, and then what? 200, 300 players don't show up, or are just there to collect the swag bag.
Probably be just under 4K, which is
Yeah,
so disappointing. So close, so close.
we'll get it next year. They're giving us more space every single time, so I'm confident
Yeah.
they'll give it to us next
And the
year for sure.
tournament also didn't instantly sell out as well, which is I think a good thing, but it did sell out quickly. I think it was like a pretty good balance. If you wanted to register for NAIC, you just had to be able to go on within 30 minutes of the window opening.
Oh, it was around for that long? Really? I thought it
Yeah,
was sold out faster.
I think I saw a tweet from Christopher Szymanski. Let me pull it up.
That's interesting. Yeah. So like, yeah, we want these tournaments to sell out, but ideally they don't sell out in the first 2 seconds. Selling out is good. Selling out instantly is not as good.
Yeah. Oh, it was Chris Brown and Christopher retweeted it. That's where I saw it. But yeah, Chris Brown tweeted Pokemon NAIC TCG registration is at 4833 players after less than 20 hours. Will depend on no show rate if it will be the number 2 spot all time outside of Asia for TCG tournaments. TCG Masters sold out in 35 minutes.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, dude, we're like taking over this. Why is it top 16? Who's like, you know what? 16 of them. Maybe it's because it's a TCG thing. So like we cut to top 16 sometimes. Usually like they're in like increments of like top 10, top 15,
Well,
top 20.
it could be because this is something that is tracked internally at Pokemon and before this year we would have not been inside the top 10, you know?
Okay, okay,
And so
okay.
they want to have us be represented on here somewhere.
It's like, how do we get us in there? All
Yeah.
right, we have to go down to 16th for now, and then we'll work it from there. But yeah, yeah, we're gonna be in that top 5 area for sure with this tournament. Potentially the second biggest. 7,000 is massive for that, and that was back in 2015, 2013. Like, look at these top Magic tournaments, and even the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. Those were all so long ago, which is kind of crazy to see. I mean, all their communities are still, they still have massive tournaments, but it's definitely interesting.
And not quite
Um,
to this level, it feels like.
yeah, it'd be
Um,
hard for us to ever get to that 7,000 number, but we can definitely take over the rest of the top
I don't know,
16.
man. I think within like 3-4 years, we can make it happen for sure. And we
Yeah, and I
keep
don't,
this
and
like
I
steady
don't.
growth rate.
Yeah, I know some people are gonna bring this up. They're gonna be like, "Oh, but they're never gonna give us." I don't think TPCI wants to not have 7,000 person tournament, but they need to we need to build up to it as a community together.
Yeah.
Like we keep showing up, they'll keep giving us the space. It's like a back and forth relationship, and they have been responding to the growth of the game. It's not that they're keeping NAIC capped at 2,000 players or something. Like,
Yeah.
this is the biggest tournament ever is coming up at NAIC, so they increased the cap, and they'll do it again next year as long as we sell out the tournament, which we did. So hopefully, you know, keep progressing.
We got a good thing going right now, it feels like for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of these decks for Milwaukee. And I think to start off, I mean, we got to talk about Gardevoir. It's been dominating all these tournaments. It's won like everything.
Yeah.
Is it just safe to say Guardy is the BDIF?
I mean, probably. It's also done it kind of impressively as well, because you look at the meta percentage of Gardevoir to Dragapult, and it's like Dragapult didn't do bad. There was 3 Dragapults in cut of Seville, but the meta percentages, day one, Guardy was what? It was 8%, right? Dragapult was 22%. And then Dragapult went up to 26. Gardevoir went up to 13. So Gardevoir had a really good conversion. But yeah, it's kind of yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say. It seems like it is the best deck in the format. It's hard to argue against that. Also, but that could be, maybe still give it to Dragapult. Gardevoir's success is definitely a product of how popular Dragapult is, right? Because that's a favorable matchup for Gardevoir, right? Is the Dragapult matchup. So it's a little bit of the product of Dragapult maybe being so good. Maybe Dragapult is the BDIF, but it's like, well, if the BDIF is going to be this popular, just play the deck that's favored against it that is the most versatile, which is Gardevoir, right? There's other decks that are also favored against Dragapult, but they don't have as good of a toolbox as Gardevoir does, right? Like, Gardevoir's just options is just kind of insane, and the comeback potential and all that, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think I would still probably say Dragapult's the BDIF. It's just Gardevoir's kind of exploiting the current landscape of the meta. Not that Gardevoir would be bad if Dragapult was only 10% of the meta. It'd still probably be pretty good, but when Dragapult's 20% of the meta, it's going to be that much better.
Well, that kind of leads into our next point. Will Dragapult fall off? And I feel like based on I kind of said this earlier, but the results, I mean, we have the limitless labs now, so we can see the tournament data, which is really sick, and see the win rates. Gardevoir is very solidly favored into Dragapult, and that's confirmed at multiple tournaments now. At Seville, 68% into
Ooh.
Dusknoir, 62% into Straight Pults. If we go back to Monterey and look at Gardevoir, and we look at its win rates, 56% into Dusknoir build, 46%,
Ooh.
a little bit less into Straight Pults.
That's interesting.
That is a little interesting. And then in Atlanta,
Right now we're digging deeper. We're like,
it
hold
was
on.
kind of more. I think it would. This is one thing with Limitless Labs that would be really cool to see is just this data be compiled by formats.
Yeah,
So
that
I'd
would
love
be
to
kind
see
of
that at
nice.
some point. But Gardevoir, 56%
And then 55.
into Dusknoir, and then 55 into Straight Pult. So
One thing
it
to keep in
definitely,
mind with I was gonna say, one thing to keep with mind with those numbers as well. It's like, if you took 2 top level players, the numbers would be a little bit more extreme, because there's gonna be a lot of people who know the matchup really well on one side or the other versus each other. The average players, things are gonna get closer to 50-50. Um, but if you took 2 really good players, things could be if you 2 people played the matchup perfectly, it could be more extreme. It could be an 80-20 or something like that.
yeah.
Let's just put that out there.
So Gardevoir extremely favored into Dragapult. Dragapult has been the most popular deck. Gardevoir has won 3 tournaments.
Or is it 4 now?
4. Yeah,
Yeah.
4. How can you, as a top
Dragapult enjoyer.
Dragapult player in good conscience, choose to play this deck? If you want to win the tournament, how can you choose to play Dragapult knowing you have a bad Gardevoir matchup? And if you want to win the tournament, you're going to have to get through Henry Chow.
It's getting tough. It's like I would almost say like Dragapult's in a position where it's like it's still a good pick to make top cut, but it's not a good pick to win the tournament because like Gardevoir isn't that popular still, right? Like it still was only like 8%. Like if the meta is not going to respond in a way where Gardevoir becomes 12, 15% of the meta, then the players who choose to play Gardevoir at its lower percentage are going to be able to reap the rewards more heavily, right? Because the Dragapult players don't feel like they need to go anywhere because Gardevoir is only 8% of the meta. And they don't actually see it that often. Um, and the meta hasn't actually sufficiently pushed it out. So I think Dragapult's still a really good play to make top cut, but I don't think it's a good pick to win the tournament. Like if you're trying to win the tournament, I think you have to show up with a good Gardevoir matchup or a fine Gardevoir matchup. And Dragapult is definitely unfavored, like you said. So it depends what your goals are. It also depends on like, we are only a couple days away from the event here. So like if you're comfortable with Dragapult, you're gonna be running Dragapult, right? But like they did have the writing has been on the wall, I feel like, for a little while, right? Like Gardevoir is coming to take dubs. And yeah, I think if we were 2 weeks out from this event, I would be like, yeah, you probably should, if your goal is to win the tournament, you should probably put the Pult away. Now that we're this close, you probably should be rocking the Pult still, but uh, yeah, Garver's going to keep feasting on these meta percentages until something changes. And if nothing changes, then the Team Rocket set will come out, and then we'll see where the meta just kind of goes from there. Because I feel like, honestly, I feel like the meta in the Pokemon TCG, I feel like I've been saying this a lot. It just feels like it's stubborn. Like players just don't want to drop their deck, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does mean that you can exploit stuff for longer. Almost like it does eventually shift, but sometimes it feels like it takes like a long time. So the Gardevoir players are like thriving right now, and would love to see Dragapult stick at that 20% for forever, for sure.
One of the hot decks right now for sure definitely feels like Zoroark in Zoroark. Is this deck something that hasn't been given its due diligence up to this point? Is it better than what we've seen before the tournaments this past weekend? And are we going to see it have success in Milwaukee?
I mean, I think one of the evolutions of the meta is kind of hurting the Enzork deck a little bit, and that is like um, although I don't even really want to say it has like a bad Terabox matchup. To be honest, that matchup is like fun because it's like Terabox is becoming like a better play, but I don't even want to say like Enzork has like a bad Terabox matchup. I think Enzork is definitely a fan of a
They
more
just
narrow
smack
meta.
you with I mean, dude, Pikachu feels pretty annoying, and also Teal Mask just one hit KOs you, right? Like,
Yeah, but it's really easy for you to remove their Hoothoots from play and then Iona them. Like as long as you can
sure.
stabilize, you do have to get some Zorks in play to draw cards. And then if you can like control the Hoothoots and find Iono, I feel like you can definitely stabilize in the matchup. The losses don't feel good though because they kind of just run over you. But I don't think it's like a bad matchup percentage. It's one of those matchups where I feel like it feels like it's worse than it is, but if you actually like track your games, it'd probably come up close to 50-50. But because it feels like you have to work so hard for your wins and they dominate you in some of their wins, it feels like it's unfavored. But I think if you actually ran the numbers, it'd be close to 50-50. But yeah, I mean, I think Enzork, I think I've said this since I played the deck on release. Like it's waiting for a more narrow meta. Like if the meta is wide, Enzork can't thrive. And depending on where the meta gets more narrow, it might not be good for it. But I think if we're going to a more Gardevoir Dragapult centered meta and we're going to continue down that path, I think the Enzork deck is like a pretty solid choice right now.
Yeah, I kind of like it as well, but I haven't spent too much thought process on it, to be honest. I'm not like working at this tournament, but just like the way the meta has been going, yeah, being able to have a really solid Gardevoir matchup feels pretty good.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's been slept on. I think it did need to sleep. You were sleeping, like the sleeping
It
was
needed to
correct.
sleep,
Yeah, the
yeah.
sleeping was correct, and now it's time
That's
to wake
funny.
up. Yeah.
Well, has the meta come back around for Terabox? Talking about how Zoroark needing to sleep. Terabox had to take a little nap as well,
Yeah,
but now is now the time.
I think it's decent right now. I think it's decent. It's nothing crazy.
Or
Um,
is it one of those situations where it was like it was decent this past weekend, but it's not
I
as good this weekend?
I don't think it's gonna have that I don't think it like gained enough momentum for things to change. So I think it'll be as good if not better this weekend for Terabox. Like we saw the the Neo Upper Energy Jamming Tower come out. That's not unfair stamp. And if it's not unfair stamp, that's better for Terabox, right? And if that trend continues, things get better for Terabox for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamming Tower isn't something you really want to see to shut off your crystal, but you'll be fine. So yeah, I would definitely say I think I think Terabox seems fine. It's not a bad play. It's a fine play. And I think things are going to continue to improve. It's on an upward trajectory, if only slightly.
And let's talk about now the deck that we talked about last week. We talked about a little bit at the start here, the Joltic box deck. We talked about if it was going to be a deck that would stick around. Is it real? And it definitely seems like it is, right? It is here. It is probably going to stick around. But what is the ceiling for it? Right now at Seville, it was a 5% or less meta share deck. At Milwaukee, are we going to see that increase? And then at the next tournament moving forward, are we going to see it keep going up from there? Like, is this something that is going to eventually become a 10% meta share deck, or is it going to be capped around that 5-6%?
And I'm trying to do. It's a Vu. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because it has gained from Monterey quite a bit, right? I want to say Monterey was 1.3. I feel like am I losing my mind? Is there a tournament missing between Seville and Monterey? No, right?
No.
Yeah, no. I feel like there's a tournament missing, but there's not.
Well, there was
Um,
like there was like the Malaysia Master Ball League.
yeah, but we don't have meta percentages from that, right? Because for some reason I'm thinking that there was a tournament before Seville where Joltic was like roughly 5%, but there wasn't, right? That didn't exist.
No.
I am thinking just about Seville. I
Yeah.
think it'll increase. I think we'll start to see 7, 8 meta percentage. It's been gaining steam. I don't think Seville is going to have a huge impact on its increase, but I think just like the momentum leading before Seville is what will cause it to be just as popular. But I would predict more popular going into, and I think it's like warranted popularity as well. I think the deck's pretty solid. It's kind of like a cool new deck, and I think it has gives Gardevoir a pretty tough time with the Iron Hands. It's kind of like the best way to play Iron Hands. It seems like for sure.
Yeah. Iron Hands. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason to play the deck for sure, is the strength
Yeah.
of Iron Hands. And it, for a long, like ever since Iron Hands came out, it's like obviously just a very good card. It's just what is the best way to play it right now,
Yeah.
and there is no real good way to play it right now besides Joltig. There's no good efficient way to power that guy up. And then finally, is Frostlass a real deck? You seem pretty hype on this deck. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've been I mean, since the first time I tried it out on live, which has been a little while from now, I was like, this deck, and I feel like I have to like I feel like in the past, or I just need to like buy into my own intuition a little bit more heavily. And if I think a deck seems good, I'm like, there's probably something here until I all of a sudden don't think the deck is good. But as long as I still think the deck is good, like when I initially played with the deck, I was like, this just seems good. And the more I've thought about the deck, I was like, this still just seems good. And we did see it get some top cut finishes this weekend. And yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those decks that's never gonna be very heavily played, but I think it's good. I think it's good. I wouldn't be surprised to see it potentially even go further, top 4, make the finals, win the tournament this weekend in Milwaukee. I think we'll probably see a little bit more meta share from it probably moving forward. But yeah, I think the deck is good, but we won't see it ever like pop off. Probably it's never gonna be. It's just not. It's one of those decks where it's just like no matter how good it is, I'm gonna have to be like ridiculously good for it to ever like break. It'll probably won't even break 5% meta share at this format or anything like that. Yeah, big fan of Frostlass Monkey Dory for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be the type of deck that like whoever has spent the time with it and practiced with it and picks it up and um either like someone is gonna have a good run with it probably at like most tournaments. We'll see one in like the top
Yeah.
32 or something like that.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's like the deck I picked to play for Portland. That or in
NAIC?
Zoroark.
Frostlass at NAIC, bro?
No, Portland. I'm hoping to play a Rockets deck at NAIC, bro. This thing is
Whoa,
in
whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you thinking about a future format right now?
good cards.
I'm gonna time you out, bro.
All right. We got some predictions. And the first prediction, I came up with this one. And it's going to be pretty hard to predict. And I'm going to have to do the counting for this one as well. I told Chip I would do the counting, but I think it was a funny prediction. And let us know how many you think there's going to be. How many times will Badu attack in the finals of Milwaukee? I'm going to say you kind of have to throw a random number. I'm going to go 13.
We're talking about all 3 games, right?
Yeah, across the match.
13 games or 13 attacks?
Yeah, 13 attacks.
I mean, how many
See,
was
then
it
I'm
for
hoping there's 2 Badoo decks in the finals, because if it's only 1 Badoo deck in the finals, it wouldn't be 13. 13 is too
yeah.
high. Alright, I'm gonna go actually with I'm gonna go with 5. Let's go with
You just don't know.
yeah, 5. I'm gonna go Badoo attacks 5 times in the finals. There'll only be 1 Badoo deck in the finals. Wait,
One
what
Badoo deck.
or hold on, we could go with an extended prediction here. I could predict Badoo Frostlass to make the finals, and that deck stays Badooing.
Yeah, that deck by itself attacks with Badoo 20 times a game.
Alright, so I'm gonna go with 5 still. There's gonna be 1 Badoo deck in the finals. It'll be Gardevoir or Pult. The other deck will not be a Badoo deck, and the Badoo deck will lose.
But so 3 games, 2 games.
I think to get 5 attacks off, it'd probably have to be 3 games. So 3 games.
Well, but it could be if it's 2 games and one of the like game 2 is shambles, and you're just having to attack with Badoo because that's all you got.
If it's that bad, hopefully the Badoo dies.
No, they're killing everything else, bro. I'm gonna say. I guess I'll just go with the opposite of what you did, and I'm gonna say it's 2 Badoo decks, just to keep things a little interesting here. Give us a sweat, and I'll say what 14.
14?
2 Badoo
Alright,
decks, Guardy, Dragapult doing things. I mean,
a
how many times do you
classic.
think Hedrick and Henry attacked with Badoo? Like,
It was over 20. It was
it,
like
it was
30
probably,
maybe.
it might have been 40, dude, in that
Yeah, it
whole
was
finals.
that one game, Henry attacked with Badoo like 20 times. So,
Yeah.
um, you think Henry's gonna run it back? I don't even know if Henry's gonna be at this one, to be honest.
I
But
don't know, but honestly, like, if he's running it back, there's a pretty good shot he'll be in the finals.
yeah.
So,
Dude, how crazy would that be if it was just literally a Hedrick Chow finals again? That would be sick.
mm,
If you were struggling with
I think it
nothing
would be
huge
sick too,
against.
but I feel like a lot of people would be annoyed by that.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that would be cool to see. Like
I
that,
think it
like
would be sick too.
just something that's never been done before. That's just always cool to see things that never been done before. But we did just talk about Joltic, and he made his way onto the prediction. What meta share percentage for Joltic in day 1? Where's the hype at, do you think, right now?
I mean, it was just 4.5% at Seville, which is a huge increase from what we had seen at. What was it in Monterey?
1.5.
Yeah, so it was like nothing up to like, and that's in a week, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna give it like 6.
Okay. That's kind of where I'm sitting as well. I think it should be more popular as 4.6. I'm gonna go with 7 though.
Okay.
Archaludon's like it's like Archaludon is so bad, something like needs to replace it.
Whoa,
So
whoa,
like
whoa.
we're gonna go. That's gonna be like the main thing. Like Archaludon's just gonna go to like 3% of the meta, and Joltic Box is gonna come up
Dude,
to
Golden
7.
Go is like, we didn't talk about Golden Go at all.
Yeah, I guess like it didn't. I mean, it didn't place, but it's been placing. Like I don't think it's like I don't think it's crazy that Golden Go had a tournament off. I think Golden Go is still up there. I don't think it's like gone anywhere.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. This tournament was not its tournament, but that'll happen sometimes.
I feel like we'll see some Raging Bolt players move away from Bolt to the Joltic deck. I could see that change happening.
Yeah, seems like a reasonable adjustment. Also, not another not very good deck.
Whoa. All right, and finally, kind of our go-to, pick a player to make cut.
I mean, I think one of the easiest predictions would be to pick Henry Chow, but I don't know if he's gonna be there. He doesn't go to like everything. I also don't know if Brent Tonneson is in town. I don't know where he's at right now.
Bro, you have to know that Brent is gonna be there.
It's like you ever hear the game Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Brent Tonneson?
The answer is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
All right, I'm gonna go with no. I gotta get like this is like home region. I can get a little bit more creative than that. I don't have a player actually off the top of my head right now. If you have someone, you go for it. I'm gonna give this a little bit more
I
thought.
do. I do have someone, and it's someone who is finally gonna have some luck go their way, and that's our boy Grant Manley. His unlucky streak finally comes to an end in Milwaukee.
Is he gonna win it, or is he just gonna get top cut?
Oh, he can't win it. He doesn't know how to do
Okay.
that, but he can make top cut.
Just had to make sure. Honestly, I would say
Dude, this would be a sick timeline. Grant versus Rahul finals. The two players who have cut the most with no
That
dub,
would be a good timeline.
and one of them finally gets the win while the other one is still left in shambles.
I wonder if because the Henry Brand is the defending Milwaukee regional champion,
It's
right?
true. That's a good
I
point.
don't know if Brand is going though. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Dude, man, this is a tough. I'm struggling out
It
here.
could be 2 weeks in a row of you picking a player who didn't actually go to the tournament.
Could be. I could lock that. I could pick Henry Brand and then. Oh, you know who's someone who hasn't had? Has he even made a top cut this? No, I think he has. Man, this is a tough one, and I'm like trying to come up with. I mean, there's so many names I could pick, but like, I gotta try and make that call.
Yeah, I feel like
And
I'm waiting on
I think I'm
this.
just gonna go with Henry Brand. Then I'm gonna go with Brand. I'm gonna say he shows up. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he's going. There's a good chance he's not going, but maybe he's gonna try and defend his title.
There we go. Henry Brand and Grant Manley are players to pick cut. I think I'm giving you a huge edge in this one. Honestly, even if Henry isn't going, I'm giving you a huge edge in this one. Oh man.
All right, Chip.
Dunking on Grant. I love you, Grant, but it's just one of the best pastimes there is, you know.
Well, I think that's it this week. Go ahead, send us out.
Yeah, thanks a bunch to everyone for listening. As always, a nice long 2-hour episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to leave us a like, a review, rating, comment, subscribe, all those things. Help us out a bunch and help more people to discover the content we're making over here. Shout outs once again to Dragon Shield. If you want to get some of the Justice dual mat sleeves that I used this past week that I'm really a big fan of, be sure to click the link in the description. Use that code UEPOD for 5% off. And if you want to stay up to date with myself and Azul, the place to do it is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie, Azul at Azul_GG. And then you can follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
Yeah, appreciate the support as always. Good luck to everyone going to tournaments this weekend, especially Henry Brand, even if it's just like a local Challenger Cup. I still hope you or wish you the best of luck, even if you don't make your way to Milwaukee. And then we'll catch y'all next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.